Chapter 221. The words Black Heaven Sect seemed to carry an inexplicable magical power that made Grey Grill Sage subconsciously stop what he was doing. He was afraid of the Black Heaven Sect. He was even more afraid of Chu Kuangren, who was rumored to have killed 2 sages. Rumor has it that Chu Kuangren wreaked havoc in the Murong clan, destroyed their clan mausoleum, and killed 2 sages and a young emperor for a crippled disciple. This guy is a lunatic. There's no need to provoke a lunatic like him, Grey Grill Sage thought to himself. However, if he were to stop now, it would seem like he was afraid of Chu Kuangren. At that thought, he flicked his finger and a surge of qi blasted onto Gujiang's body, sending him flying and smashing him into the mountain wall. Gujiang immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale, his chest caved in, and several of his bones were broken. Even his meridians were severely damaged. He could not even defend against a sage's flick of a finger. An honorable was like an ant to a sage. I'll spare your life for the sake of the Black Heaven Sect. However, you may be spared from death, but you must be punished. This attack is a small punishment, Grey Grill Sage said indifferently. Gujiang was about to curse in his heart. A small punishment? That attack was more than enough to kill him. All he did was speak up for the Fairfrost Sage. In order not to offend the sage, he even said it to Master Li. F*ck. He had long heard of the Overlord Sage tribe's tyrannical ways. However, he did not expect it to reach this point. All right, Fairfrost Sage, don't waste my time. Hand over the Alchemy Grandmaster's inheritance. Grey Grill Sage said indifferently. Usbus. At that moment, a strange fluctuation appeared in the void of the Fairfrost Valley. From the depths of the valley, a majestic surge of pill qi soared into the sky, forming a golden cloud in the void. The pill fragrance filled the air and spread for hundreds of kilometers. All the medicinal herbs in the entire valley were trembling, and they seemed to be jumping with joy as they erupted with exuberant vitality. In the sky, Daoist rhymes reverberated in the golden cloud, and an incredibly mysterious Daoist rhyme circulated. It had reached the level of a sage. The alchemists in the valley were shocked. A pill cloud of this scale is too terrifying. Sage Daoist aura, this is a sage pill. F*ck. Someone is concocting a saint pill, and he even succeeded. Isn't this something only a great alchemist can concoct? There's actually a living alchemy grandmaster in this world. Everyone was horrified. Master Li's face was filled with disbelief. Impossible, impossible. How can there be someone in this world who can refine a sacred pill? Gujiang looked into the depths of the valley and smiled faintly. It must be him. Aside from him, no one else in this world has such ability. Something's wrong. The crowd exclaimed again. Next to the majestic pill cloud in the sky, a large amount of pill qi suddenly condensed and formed another pill cloud. The pill cloud was changing again and again. Soon, they formed 9 pill clouds. Master Li was trembling all over. He was so shocked that his soul was about to leave his body. 9 pill clouds and a Sage Dao aura. This is a 9th grade Sage Realm treasure pill. Even a great grandmaster might not be able to refine an elixir. How could it possibly appear here? Who is it? Who is concocting pills? Only an alchemy grandmaster could refine a sacred pill. However, even an alchemy grandmaster might not be able to refine a sacred grade pill, especially a 9th grade sacred grade pill. In the past hundreds of thousands of years, no one had ever succeeded in refining one. Even if Master Li fully comprehended the Fairfrost Sage's alchemy grandmaster inheritance, he would never be able to refine such a pill. All the alchemists were dumbfounded. Some of them wondered if they were dreaming and pinched their own or others' faces. 9 majestic pill clouds with a diameter of thousands of feet were suspended in the sky. The terrifying pill qi spread from 100 miles to thousands of miles. All the powerhouses in the Black Warrior domain sensed something strange and looked in the direction of the Fairfrost Valley, their faces filled with shock and uncertainty. Has a sage appeared? No, this is... It's a sacred pill, and an extremely high-grade one at that. Aren't alchemy grandmasters extinct in this world? Where did this new alchemy grandmaster come from? All the powerhouses in the world, including the sages, were a little surprised. Inside the Fairfrost Valley, Fairfrost Sage and Greygrill Sage stared at the 9 pill clouds with a solemn look in their eyes. The Daoist rhymes contained within the pill clouds made even the two of them feel pressured. What kind of alchemist is this? Greygrill Sage could not help but wonder. Brother Chu, how did you refine such a horrifying pill? Fairfrost Sage knew that it was Chu Kuangren who was refining the pill. However, she was shocked as well. The pill clouds gradually dispersed, but the crowd of alchemists was still immersed in indescribable shock. Quick, Sage, snatch the Grandmaster's inheritance. Master Li regained his senses and said loudly. After knowing that such alchemy grandmasters still existed in this world, his desire to become an grandmaster grew stronger. Give me the grandmaster's inheritance. Greygrill Sage did not want to waste any more time talking to Fairfrost Sage, so he raised his hand and unleashed a punch. An extremely domineering sage Daoist rhyme locked onto Fairfrost Sage. You'll have to step over my dead body if you want to snatch the inheritance. Fairfrost Sage was a woman who looked gentle on the outside but was extremely stubborn on the inside. She would rather fight to the death than submit to the Overlord Sage tribe. She raised her hand and unleashed a palm attack, but she was forced back again. Greygrill Sage unleashed another punch. However, at that moment, an extremely cold sword-based Daoist rhyme erupted from the depths of the valley, and a purple sword ray shot out like a meteor. The sword ray swept past Fairfrost Sage and blocked the fist energy for her. The Daoist rhymes from the sword and fist intertwined and collided, turning into a terrifying shockwave that spread out. Even someone as powerful as Greygrill Sage could not help but be forced back a few dozen feet. Who's that? Greygrill Sage's pupils shrunk slightly. A man and a woman slowly walked out from the depths of the valley. The man who walked in front was dressed in white and had long black hair that reached his waist. He held a long sword that was as exquisite as white jade in his hand, and he looked like a sword immortal who had descended from the heavens. It's you, the one who unlocked the incomplete pill recipe of the pill scroll. Master Li recognized Chu Kuangren at first glance. Although Chu Kuangren's face was covered by a spiritual glow that day, he remembered his figure clearly. Coupled with the appearance of the sage pill just now, Master Li had a bold guess. You were the one who refined the sage pill just now. Chu Kuangren neither admitted nor denied it. The crowd soon confirmed that he was the one who refined the sage pill. After all, the fact that he could quickly complete the pill recipe on the pill scroll showed that his alchemy skills were extraordinary. He was probably an alchemy grandmaster as well. May I know who you are? Greygrill Sage asked suspiciously. Compared to the alchemy Dao that the alchemists were concerned about, he was more afraid of his opponent's strength. Chu Kuangren still did not respond to the sage's question. He was still analyzing the situation. Why is it so chaotic outside when I've just finished refining the pill? Sect leader! At that moment, Gujiang yelled from the crowd. Chu Kuangren looked over and his pupils shrunk slightly. His figure then turned into a stream of light and appeared in front of Gujiang. Who hurt you? Chu Kuangren asked coldly. It's the sage from the Overlord Sage tribe. They want to snatch the Grandmaster's inheritance from the Fairfrost Sage. Gujiang briefly explained what had happened. Chapter 222. Following Gujiang's words, everyone present was shocked, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. There was only one person in the world whom Gujiang addressed as Sect Master. That person was none other than Chu Kuangren, the one who had just killed 2 of the Murong clan sages. He's Chu Kuangren. No way, no way, no way. Chu Kuangren can actually refine a 9th-tier sage grade supreme pill? Are you kidding me? That madman actually came here. Rumor has it that Chu Kuangren is a peerless genius with a celestial appearance. Now that I've seen him in person, he's indeed extraordinary. I'm afraid there's not another person like him in this world. The crowd burst into a flurry of discussion. The crowd of alchemists could not associate an alchemist who could refine a 9th-grade sage grade supreme pill with Chu Kuangren, who had killed 2 sages. This was too crazy. Damn it. Why is this guy in Fairfrost Valley? Grey Grill Sage's face turned gloomy. He felt that things had become troublesome. After Chu Kuangren heard the whole story, he looked at the Grey Grill Sage and said, "Actually, I'm a very reasonable person. Do you have anything to say about what Gu Jiang said?" The Grey Grill Sage said in a deep voice, "Chu Kuangren, he has interfered in the affairs of the sages. I've already given you enough face by not killing him." "This is your answer?" A cold glint flashed across Chu Kuangren's eyes. "Chu Kuangren, are you really going to interfere in this matter? First of all, the Iron Alchemy Scroll belongs to the Fairfrost Sage. Moreover, I was the one who obtained the Grandmaster's inheritance after completing the pill recipe. Therefore, logically speaking, I should also be credited for this inheritance. Secondly, I borrowed the Fairfrost Sage's treasured land for alchemy, so I owe her a favor. Logically speaking, I can't just sit back and do nothing. Thirdly, and most importantly, you've injured a member of the Black Heaven sect, and I'm the sect leader of the Black Heaven sect. Logically speaking, do you think I'll just sit back and do nothing?" Chu Kuangren's tone gradually turned cold. Just as he had said, he was a very reasonable person. His 3 reasons had rendered Grey Grill Sage and Grandmaster Li speechless. Everyone couldn't help but click their tongues in wonder. The Fairfrost Sage's beautiful eyes glowed even brighter. "Chu Kuangren, do you really think the Overlord Sage tribe is afraid of you?" Grey Grill Sage took a step forward and said coldly. A majestic pressure of a sage erupted from his body. "Do you think my Black Heaven sect will be afraid?" Similarly, Chu Kuangren's body erupted with an incredibly cold sword-based Daoist rhyme as the 2 terrifying domineering auras clashed violently in the void. The entire Frost Valley seemed to be shaking. "Are you really going to fight me to the death for a rogue sage who has nothing to do with your Black Heaven sect?" Grey Grill Sage said with a gloomy expression. "That's not all. Like I said, the most important thing is that you indiscriminately hurt the people of my Black Heaven sect. You are indeed as crazy as the rumors say." The Grey Grill Sage was so angry that the corner of his mouth was twitching. However, he did not dare to act recklessly. Rumor had it that Chu Kuangren could slay 2 sages, so no matter how weak he was, his strength should be comparable to a sage's. Furthermore, there was still the Fairfrost Sage in the field. If they were to really fight, it would be 2 against 1, and his chances of winning were not high. Go. In the end, Grey Grill Sage decided to leave first. "What? Sage, are you leaving just like that?" Master Li was filled with dissatisfaction. Grey Grill Sage glared at Master Li angrily. With Chu Kuangren around, they would not be able to obtain the Grandmaster's inheritance. If they did not leave, what else could they do? Would they be treated as a joke? "Did I say you can leave?" At that moment, Chu Kuangren's voice rang out. The crowd could not help but gasp when they heard that. Even a sage had given in. What else did he want? Grey Grill Sage's expression was extremely ugly. "Chu Kuangren, don't go too far. What else do you want? You hurt my Black Heaven sect's people and then you want to leave? Am I the one who's gone too far, or are you the one who's gone too far?" Chu Kuangren shouted coldly. At the same time, he turned the Descendant Self-Sword in his hand, and an incredibly cold sword-based Daoist rhyme that could even hurt a sage's body instantly locked onto Grey Grill Sage. "You want to leave? Sure, but you'll have to cut off one of your arms first. Chu Kuangren, you've gone too far." Grey Grill Sage yelled. He wanted him to cut off one of his arms? After all, he had the body of a sage. If he were to cut off one of his arms, it would not be so easily reattached and regrown. Did he really think that everyone had an immortal body? He did not know how many resources he would need to use to recover his arm. The price was too high. "Are you going to do it yourself, or do you want me to do it?" Chu Kuangren said indifferently. "Looks like I'll have to experience what you're capable of today." The spiritual power on Grey Grill Sage's body began to surge. He would not cut off his arm so easily. It was not a matter of whether he was willing or not, but it concerned his reputation as a sage. If he were to let Chu Kuangren cut off his arm just like that, where would he hide his face? "Looks like I'll have to do it myself." Chu Kuangren took out the sacred emerald sword case. Brilliant heaven-shaking fist. Grey Grill Sage instantly attacked. A terrifying fist strength flowed between his fingers, and when it was unleashed, an unparalleled violent energy instantly erupted. A gigantic black fist mark appeared in the air. The void rumbled, and waves of air exploded out crazily. Chu Kuangren patted the sword case. The sword case opened, and one by one, treasured swords flew out. There were a total of 365 swords, forming a terrifying sword formation. The moment the two collided, surges of powerful sword chi pierced through the black fist mark, and it was instantly riddled with holes. What? Grey Grill Sage's expression changed. Just when he was shocked by the sword formation's power, the 365 swords had already arrived and surrounded him, trapping him within the sword formation. The rotation of the 4 seasons and the mysteries of nature were too much for him to handle. How terrifying was this sword formation? Chu Kuangren could already use this sword formation to trap 2 sages when he was only a beginner honorable, let alone a mid-stage honorable like him. Moreover, there was only one Grey Grill Sage. Trapped within the sword formation, Grey Grill Sage continuously unleashed his fist strength on the sword formation, but it was all in vain. This sword formation was too mysterious. With Grey Grill Sage's strength alone, it was impossible for him to handle it. The crowd could not help but gulp as they watched Chu Kuangren suppress Grey Grill Sage. They felt that the world was too crazy. An honorable was suppressing a sage? Although they had heard about Chu Kuangren killing 2 sages, it was not as shocking as witnessing it with their own eyes. Not long after, Grey Grill Sage's sage body was covered in blood marks. They were all caused by the sword chi of the sword formation. On the other hand, Chu Kuangren, who was outside the sword formation, controlled the sword chi methodically like a cat toying with a mouse. It almost made Grey Grill Sage vomit blood. No, this sword formation is too terrifying. I won't be able to last long. Grey Grill Sage's eyes gradually revealed a hint of ruthlessness. He gritted his teeth, turned his right hand into a palm blade, and ruthlessly slashed at his left arm. A sound of flesh tearing was heard. Blood splattered everywhere as his left arm was forcefully cut off by Grey Grill Sage. He said with a pale face, "Is this enough? I'll have to do this sooner or later anyway, so why bother fighting like this?" Chu Kuangren said indifferently as he put away the sword formation. "Let's go." Grey Grill Sage felt that if he stayed any longer, even if he was not killed by Chu Kuangren, he would be angered to death by him. He immediately grabbed his severed arm and left with Master Li. Chapter 223. Looking at Grey Grill Sage's disheveled silhouette, the crowd felt that it was ridiculous. After all, the Overlord Sage tribe was the top sage orthodoxy in the Black Warrior domain. They were so domineering that almost no one dared to provoke them. However, Chu Kuangren had given them a huge setback today. It's not that the Overlord Sage tribe isn't strong or domineering enough, but they've encountered a lunatic. One of the alchemists murmured, which made the crowd agree with him. Chu Kuangren, go crazy. The *CK, this guy is insane. He's just an honorable, but he managed to suppress a sage. Is he even human? He's a monster. Chu Kuangren came before Gujiang and unleashed his spring breeze healing technique with a mysterious Daoist rhyme. Gujiang only felt a gust of spring breeze, and the injuries on his body healed at an extremely fast speed. This was much better than the vast majority of healing pills. What a powerful technique. Gujiang could not help but be amazed. Chu Kuangren was giving him more and more surprises. Fairfrost Sage walked to Chu Kuangren and said, "Thank you for your help, Brother Chu. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to escape." "Sage, you're welcome. By the way, the pill chi in the valley was so strong just now. Brother Chu, did you refine the sage-grade pill?" Fairfrost Sage asked curiously. "Indeed." Chu Kuangren smiled and took out a jade bottle. There were 3 golden medicinal pills inside. Even through the jade bottle, the crowd could still feel the surges of Daoist rhyme emanating from it. It was the 9th grade sage-grade supreme pill. Initially, it was quite difficult for him to refine this supreme pill. However, with the help of the Vitality Pill Tome's item spirit, Lil Tion, it was much easier. The alchemists gulped as they looked at the medicinal pills. They were like gluttons who had been starving for a long time seeing a table full of delicious food. Even Gujiang was no exception. He could not help but reach out to touch the medicinal pill, but Chu Kuangren slapped his hand away. Gujiang immediately looked aggrieved. Sect leader, can't I even touch it? We're separated by 1,000 years of cultivation. How could the medicinal pill that I refine be worthy of your attention? Chu Kuangren said. At first, Gujiang was stunned. He did not know what Chu Kuangren meant, but then he smacked his head and suddenly remembered. Before Chu Kuangren completed the pill recipe, Chu Kuangren had once mocked him, telling him to wait 1,000 years before he could complete the pill recipe. F***ck me. Gujiang was dumbfounded. He actually laughed at the sect leader. Oh my god. No, sect leader, listen to my explanation. I didn't know you were the sect leader at that time. Besides, didn't I just say something? Do you have to remember it until now? Aren't you a little narrow-minded, petty? Chu Kuangren glanced at Gujiang and kept the pill away. Gujiang wanted to cry but had no tears. He had accidentally said the wrong thing again. Fairfrost Sage, what are your plans from now on? Chu Kuangren asked the Fairfrost Sage before he left. What do you mean, fellow Chu? You have the Grand Master's inheritance in your hands. I don't think Master Li and the Overlord Sage tribe will let this matter rest. I'm afraid they'll come looking for you again. When that happens, how are you going to deal with them? The Fairfrost Sage smiled bitterly at Chu Kuangren's words. Brother Chu, you're right. It seems like I can't stay in Fairfrost Valley anymore. I need to find another place to live in seclusion. I have a suggestion. Chu Kuangren laughed. What is it, Brother Chu? Fairfrost Sage, why don't you join my Black Heaven sect? You're an expert in growing supreme herbs, so it's a shame if you don't put your talent to good use. If you join my Black Heaven sect, I'll have someone specially set up a secluded place for you. You can still live the life you want, grow flowers, and study alchemy in your spare time. All you need to do is to help the Black Heaven sect cultivate some supreme herbs. Most importantly, with the Black Heaven sect around, the Overlord Sage tribe will have to think twice before making trouble for you, Chu Kuangren said. The Fairfrost Sage pondered for a while before she said, All right, I agree. Chu Kuangren was stunned when he heard that. He did not expect the Fairfrost Sage to agree without hesitation. He had even prepared a lot of other excuses. After all, the Fairfrost Sage was used to being alone and had never joined any forces. It would not be an easy task to persuade her to attach herself to the protection of others. Chu Kuangren touched his own face. As expected, was it because he was too handsome? After some simple packing, Chu Kuangren, Lan Yu, Gujiang, the Fairfrost Sage, and one of her disciples left the Fairfrost Valley. Before they arrived at the Fairfrost Valley, Chu Kuangren parked the elusive Mirage in the air not far from the Fairfrost Valley for Black Heaven's second forefather to look after. Not long after, the group returned to the elusive Mirage. A sage? Black Heaven's second forefather and Gujiang could not help but be surprised to see the Fairfrost Sage. Chu Kuangren briefly explained the situation. Black Heaven's second forefather was overjoyed to hear that the Fairfrost Sage was going to join the Black Heaven sect. A sage was too important to an orthodoxy. Every additional sage was a great help. Black Heaven's second forefather did not expect that Chu Kuangren would bring back a sage on this trip. This almost shocked Black Heaven's second forefather. However, when he found out that Chu Kuangren had offended the Overlord Sage tribe, the corner of Black Heaven's second forefather's mouth twitched. This young man was too good at stirring up trouble. Chu Kuangren's trip to the Black Warrior domain had killed 2 sages from the Murong clan, destroyed Ghost Street, and created a grudge with every demonic cultivator in the Black Warrior domain. Now, even the Overlord Sage tribe was not spared. The elusive Mirage was so huge that Fairfrost Sage and Gujiang were shocked to see it for the first time. Chu Kuangren then asked Lan Yu to bring them around. Forefather, is there anything you want to say to me? After everyone left, Chu Kuangren asked Black Heaven's second forefather. What do you want to say? I've made so many enemies in my trip to the Black Warrior domain. Don't you want to teach me a lesson? Chu Kuangren blinked. Ha, a young man, since we've handed the Black Heaven sect over to you, you'll be in charge of everything in the sect. Do whatever you want, and we'll support you unconditionally." Black Heaven's second forefather laughed. His trust warmed Chu Kuangren's heart. "Forefather, you're putting a lot of pressure on me. It's fine. If you can't handle it anymore, you still have us. I've made a lot of enemies in my trip to the Black Warrior domain, but the Murong clan no longer has a sage, so there's nothing to fear. Besides the Underworld Palace, the rest of the demonic orthodoxies are not worth mentioning. As for the Overlord Sage tribe, I've only cut off one of their sage's arms. Consider it a lesson. They may be angry, but they won't fight us to the death over this." Chu Kuangren said slowly. To be honest, although he had made a lot of enemies in his trip to the Black Warrior domain, apart from the Overlord Sage tribe, the rest were nothing. He had cut off one of Grey Grill Sage's arms, but he had spared his life as well. Taking an arm and taking the life of a sage were two different concepts. If Chu Kuangren killed Grey Grill Sage, the Overlord Sage tribe might go crazy, and the other forces might even join forces to deal with the Black Heaven sect. An unscrupulous lunatic would be feared by all forces, but he would also be targeted by everyone. Chu Kuangren and the Black Heaven sect did not have the ability to deal with everyone at the moment. This was also the reason why he let Grey Grill Sage go. The current level was just right. It could serve as a huge deterrent, but it would not make all forces so afraid that they would join forces to go against the Black Heaven sect. Chapter 224. Chu Kuangren's actions this time were crazy, but other than that time when the Murong clan was truly enraged, he had always maintained a sense of propriety. Black Heaven's second forefather looked at Chu Kuangren with a sense of relief. From his point of view, Chu Kuangren was extremely outstanding. Although he was still very young, his methods were not weaker than any of the sect leaders of the previous generation. Because of his powerful strength, his way of doing things was different from the other sect leaders. He did things openly, but the results were extremely good. "Our Black Heaven sect will be glorious," Black Heaven's second forefather muttered as he stared at Chu Kuangren's back. Upon returning to the elusive mirage, Chu Kuangren handed the soul-healing pill to Murong Xian. Murong Xian held the pill in his hand in excitement. He looked at Chu Kuangren with gratitude and was about to kneel down. However, Chu Kuangren held her up. "What are you doing?" "Sect leader, you've protected my mother's corpse from being humiliated by others, and you've even concocted a sacred pill for me. You've given me a new lease on life. I really don't know how to thank you enough," Murong Xian said with bloodshot eyes. "You used to call me eldest senior brother, but now, you call me sect leader. No matter what my identity is, isn't it what I should do? If you're really grateful, make more contributions to the sect in the future." Chu Kuangren patted him on the shoulder and said, "Murong Xian's life belongs to the Black Heaven sect now. All right, you should recuperate first." Murong Xian took the saint pill and went to recuperate. That night, suddenly, a burst of sword chi soared into the sky from the illusionary mirage. Chu Kuangren, who was resting with his eyes closed, looked towards the source of the sword chi and smirked. It seems like this medicinal pill is quite effective. Not only has it restored Murong Xian's spiritual mound, but it has also greatly increased his spiritual power. This time, Murong Xian could be considered to have profited from his misfortune. Fairfrost Sage and Gujiang walked out of the pavilion and looked at the source of the sword chi. They exchanged glances and could not help but click their tongues in wonder. The injury of the spiritual mound has actually been mended. This has truly solved a problem that has plagued the alchemy world for thousands of years. Fellow Daoist Chu's ability is truly extraordinary. The two of them exclaimed in admiration. He was even more impressed by Chu Kuangren's alchemy skills. Not long after, Chu Kuangren and the others returned to the Black Heaven sect. When Elder Ruyan and the others saw the gigantic illusionary mirage, they thought that it was some kind of enemy. They quickly ordered their men to be on high alert and nearly activated the sect protecting formation. When they saw Chu Kuangren and the others descending from the elusive mirage, everyone let down their guard and hurriedly went up to them. Meanwhile, in the direction of the towering Heaven Palace, a streak of fiery light suddenly shot into the sky. It was the godly phoenix, Lil Red, who had sensed Chu Kuangren's return and could not wait to welcome him. "Big brother, where did you go? Why did you leave me here?" The godly phoenix Lil Red came before Chu Kuangren and rubbed its furry head against his body, expressing its longing for him. Chu Kuangren stroked her neck and comforted her. "Sect leader, what is this?" When Elder Ruyan and the others arrived in front of Chu Kuangren, they could not help but gulp when they saw the towering pavilions and palaces on the Cloud Mist Tower. The illusionary mirage was too shocking. "It's not like I've never seen an immortal boat before," Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Elder Ruyan and the others looked at the illusionary mirage that was more than 30 kilometers in diameter and could not help but look at each other. "You call this a boat?" Sect leader, where should we park this thing?" Elder Ruyan asked. "A treasure like this must be protected properly. Where to park the illusionary mirage, who to look after it, and how many cultivators were needed to set up its defenses were all matters that needed to be considered. It's fine. Just leave it here with me for now." Chu Kuangren pointed at the yin and yang ring on his finger. With a thought, the gigantic illusionary mirage rapidly shrunk into a dot of light before Chu Kuangren kept it into his yin and yang ring. When the crowd saw this, they were shocked again. A normal yin and yang ring would only have a few hundred square meters in size. However, Chu Kuangren had casually kept the illusionary mirage, which was almost 30 kilometers in diameter, into his yin and yang ring. Just how big was the space inside the ring? The crowd did not know. Chu Kuangren's yin and yang ring was a legendary grade item, which was one grade higher than the illusionary mirage. The space inside it was incredibly vast. Not to mention one illusionary mirage, it could easily store 10 or even 100 other boats. If it were not for the fact that it could not store living things, Chu Kuangren would have taken the entire Black Heaven sect with him. "It's just a small matter." Elder Ruyan took a deep breath and calmed herself down. "Isn't it just a ferry boat the size of a city? Isn't it just a yin and yang ring that can store a ferry boat the size of a city? What's that? Is it more shocking than Chu Kuangren creating the 12 sage techniques? Is it more shocking than Chu Kuangren killing 2 sages? By the way, Elder Ruyan, this is the Fair Frost Sage. From today onward, she's also a member of our Black Heaven sect. She loves peace and quiet, so please find her a place to stay." Chu Kuangren introduced the Fair Frost Sage. "What?" The crowd was stunned again. A sage wants to join the Black Heaven sect. What a joyous occasion. Not long ago, Master Gu joined the Black Heaven sect because of our sect leader. Now we have another sage. This is great. The elders were so excited that they could not control themselves. "It's just a small matter," Elder Ruyan kept telling herself that in her heart. After that, she took the Fair Frost Sage with her and left. "Sect leader, I need to find a place to properly place my mother's remains. I'll take my leave first," Murong Xian said. "All right, go ahead." After that, Chu Kuangren discussed with the elders about the recent changes in the Azure Dragon domain. After the discussion, they realized that there were indeed some changes. For example, when the news of Chu Kuangren killing the Murong clan's 2 sages reached the Azure Dragon domain, almost every sage orthodoxy was shocked. Now, almost no one dared to go against the Black Heaven sect. Now, the Black Heaven sect's momentum is unprecedentedly strong. Some of the disciples are even saying that they're going to unify the Azure Dragon domain. This bunch of kids are still immature. However, with the Black Heaven sect's current momentum, it's not impossible for them to expand their territory. No, it's definitely doable. Listening to the elder's words, Chu Kuangren fell into deep thought before he said, "I wonder if you've heard of this saying before? To destroy something, you must first make it mad." Everyone looked at each other and shook their heads in confusion. The Black Heaven sect may be strong now, but we need to be more cautious at this time. If we act too recklessly, we'll definitely cause a backlash from the other sage orthodoxies. Chu Kuangren said. At that, the elders fell into deep thought. Also, we need to strengthen the management of the disciples. Unify the Azure Dragon domain? Every one of them is messing with me. I'm already having a headache managing the Black Heaven sect. The Azure Dragon domain is so big, whoever wants to manage it can do so. Let them memorize the sect's commandments and conduct monthly checks. Elder enforcement, I'll leave this matter to you. Not only them, but also those affiliated forces. Send someone to warn them not to act recklessly while the Black Heaven sect's momentum is strong. If they dare to do so, I'll kill them as a warning to the others. Chu Kuangren discussed with the elders for several hours. It was his first time participating in a sect's internal affairs discussion. His foresight and wisdom had made some of the elders extremely pleased. At least he's much better than that mysterious rarity sect leader, one of the elders said emotionally. In the depths of the Black Heaven sect, Honorable Xianxia, who was in a cottage, could not help but sneeze. He said in confusion, "No way, even a boundary sage can catch a cold." Chapter 225. In the towering Heaven Palace. Chu Kuangren was cultivating. It had been half a month since he returned to the Black Heaven sect, and he had spent most of his time dealing with internal affairs with the various elders. For the first time, he felt the difference between being a sect leader and an elder senior brother. "Sigh, it's tiring. Didn't Master say that he would just be a sect leader who didn't have to do anything? Who are you trying to fool?" Chu Kuangren muttered helplessly. "Let's do a lucky draw and relax." Chu Kuangren opened the fantasy roulette and started the lucky draw. "Congratulations, host. You have obtained the Starlight Formation Technique, Gravity Domain." Formation Technique? Chu Kuangren rubbed his chin and pondered. He did not get many formation techniques, but the towering Heaven Palace's Spirit Gathering Formation and the legendary Four Seasons Sword Formation stood out the most. These two formations had been extremely helpful to him, especially the latter, which had even helped him kill a sage. Now, he had obtained the Gravity Domain. This formation technique might be very useful. Chu Kuangren pondered and then sent a message to Elder Ruyan. Soon, a new palace appeared in the Black Heaven sect. "Sect leader, why do you want me to build this palace? Is the towering Heaven Palace not big enough?" Elder Ruyan asked curiously. When the two of them arrived outside the palace, Chu Kuangren smiled. "You'll find out soon enough. Come, let's go in together." The two of them entered the palace together. The palace was built according to Chu Kuangren's requirements. Although it was not extravagant, the interior was very spacious and sturdy. There were even some runes engraved in some places that even an honorable could not easily destroy. Upon entering the palace, Chu Kuangren's heart skipped a beat. He retrieved the gravity domain and placed it within the palace. Immediately, the entire palace shook and changes took place. A few unremarkable black stones appeared in the surroundings. These stones were the foundation of the gravity domain. Chu Kuangren walked in front of one of the stones and pressed it. A huge force of gravity suddenly erupted inside the palace, pressing down on Chu Kuangren and Elder Ruyan like a mountain. "What's going on?" Elder Ruyan's body trembled as she hurriedly channeled her spiritual power to resist the sudden force of gravity. She was shocked. Chu Kuangren pressed on the other stones one after another, and the gravity was constantly adjusted, sometimes strong and sometimes weak. At its most terrifying moment, even Elder Ruyan, who had channeled all of her spiritual energy, was nearly pinned to the ground, unable to move at all. "Oh my God, what kind of formation is this?" Gravity domain. Chu Kuangren pressed down on the last stone and dispelled the formation. Elder Ruyan's body relaxed. She was sweating profusely as she panted and said, What a powerful formation." Chu Kuangren chuckled. The gravity in this gravitational formation is divided into 5 difficulty levels, which are easy, normal, hard, nightmare, and hellish. Elder Ruyan, you're a venerable, so you're more suited for the nightmare difficulty. If it's the hell difficulty, you won't be able to move. This formation can be tested by the disciples. Under the pressure, it can temper their physical bodies, strength, and even spiritual energy. However, you have to pay attention to the difficulty that suits you. As Chu Kuangren spoke, Elder Ruyan's eyes grew brighter and brighter. She could already see the immense value that this formation contained. This was definitely a training ground that was not inferior to the Sword Tower. Elder Ruyan did not ask Chu Kuangren where the formation came from. After all, She knew that the answer would always be the same. What kind of opportunity of fortune is this? Chu Kuangren taught Elder Rian how to operate the formation and left the rest of the promotion to her. After exiting the palace, Chu Kuangren used his sword qi to carve a few words on the palace's gate. Gravity Training Grounds. Simple and direct. He smiled in satisfaction. This shall be the name of this palace from now on. Beside him, Elder Ruyan was speechless. Chu Kuangren was obviously bad at naming things, yet he still liked it. Forget it, forget it. As long as the sect leader is happy. Not long after, news of the Gravity Training Grounds spread throughout the Black Heaven sect. Many disciples were eager to give it a try. I heard that Qin Wushuang came to the Gravity Training Grounds a few days ago. He went in standing but came out holding onto the wall. His legs were so weak. Daoist Jun Yi smiled. The Qin Wushuang she mentioned was also one of the Black Heaven sect's Daoists, and his strength was no weaker than hers. Yes, I'm curious too, so I came here today to give it a try, Nangong Huang, who was beside Jun Yi, said. Please. 2 Daoists, 1 male and 1 female, walked into the Gravity Training Grounds at the same time. As soon as they entered, they saw the black stones on the wall. Jun Yi said, this should be the formation base that Elder Rian mentioned. The first one is the easy mode, the second one is the normal mode. Nangong Huang, which one should we try first? We shouldn't bite off more than we can chew. I heard that Elder Rian can only withstand the nightmare level, so let's go with this one. Nangong Huang said calmly. They were Daoists with excellent talents and outstanding combat strength. In terms of combat strength, they were no weaker than some of the elders. Especially Nangong Huang, who was also a young emperor. All right. Jun Yi nodded and pressed on the stone. Suddenly, an extremely strong gravitational force erupted. Their expressions immediately changed. Before they could do anything, they were pressed to the ground on the spot with a bang. What a terrifying gravitational force. We were too careless. Both of them hurriedly channeled their spiritual power to resist the gravitational force. About an hour later, the gravitational force disappeared. At this time, both of them were sweating profusely and trembling. They felt sore and powerless, as if this body did not belong to them anymore. Next time, let's start with the normal mode. Nangong Huang said weakly. Outside the gravity trial field, Murong Xian arrived. However, before he could enter, he saw a pale Nangong Huang and Jun Yi walking out with their hands on the wall. What's wrong with you two? It's this gravity trial field. It's too terrifying. What level of difficulty are you trying? Hell mode. Before Jun Yi could speak, Nangong Huang said, as Daoists, we should lead by example and challenge our limits. That's why we're trying the hell mode. Wow, your challenge is quite difficult. Murong Xian looked at the two of them and shook his head. Then he walked into the gravity trial field. Looking at the black stone on the wall, Murong Xian smiled and said, looking at Nangong Huang and Jun Yi, the hell mode should be very scary. I'd better not try it. Nangong Huang, you want to trick me? No way. I'd better try the nightmare mode. He pressed on the stone. Then, a huge gravitational force pressed him to the ground. C. Nangong Huang, just you wait. Murong Xian's mouth twitched as he said, aside from the Daoists, more people came to the gravity trial field to try it. After the Daoist mistakes, everyone chose a difficulty that was suitable for them to avoid being like them. With the addition of the sword gauntlet, the cultivation speed of the Black Heaven sect's disciples soared, and the overall quality continued to improve. Time passed, and before they knew it, a year had passed. During this year, Chu Kuangren had been staying in the Black Heaven sect. Under his watch, the entire Black Heaven sect flourished and developed rapidly. Although there were no major movements such as expanding the territory, the internal strength of the sect had increased by more than a level. Chapter 226. Knock knock. Inside the towering Heaven Palace, Lan Yu knocked on the door. Come in. A lazy voice came from inside the room. Lan Yu pushed the door open and saw Chu Kuangren yawning as he woke up from his bed. She could not help but smile. She went up to Chu Kuangren and skillfully tidied his bed. She then helped him change his clothes and said, "Master, Elder Rian sent someone to tell you to be punctual for a meeting at the Longevity Hall." Meeting? Oh, it's the beginning of the month today, right? Chu Kuangren suddenly realized. The Black Heaven sect would hold a meeting every month to discuss the happenings of the month, such as the performance of the disciples, the movements of the other sage orthodoxies, and so on. After he was dressed, Chu Kuangren carefully looked at himself in the mirror. After being the sect leader for a year, I feel like my hairline has grown taller. Oh no, I won't go bald if I continue like this. Lan Yu smiled helplessly. Master, you're thinking too much. Your hair is still as thick as ever, and your hairline hasn't changed either. Is that so? It's true. You're still as good-looking as ever. That's good. Chu Kuangren brought Lan Yu along and prepared to leave. In the courtyard, Lil Bing was feeding Lil Red a few spirit fruits. Did Fairfrost Sage send spirit fruits again? Yes, she sent 2 big baskets this time. She said that the godly phoenix likes them, so she planted more. Lil Bing pointed at the 2 baskets of fiery red spirit fruits with a rich fire-based Daoist rhyme. Any one of them was a priceless top-tier supreme elixir. However, these were just snacks for the godly phoenix Lil Red. Thank you for troubling her. Right. Chu Kuangren took out a book and a bottle. There were some seeds in the bottle. These are the answers to the alchemy questions she asked me last time. There are also some supreme elixir seeds. Send them to her later. Over the past year, Fairfrost Sage would occasionally come to Chu Kuangren to ask some questions. Sometimes, he would save up some of the more complicated questions and write them down in a book for her. Besides that, he would sometimes draw all sorts of strange things from the gacha, and these supreme elixir seeds were one of them. Since he was too lazy to plant them himself, he left them to the Fairfrost Sage. Yes, Master. They left the Doctrine Palace. Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu walked towards the Longevity Hall. The disciples he met along the way all bowed respectfully. Greetings, Sect Master. Greetings, Sect Master. Compared to a year ago, the Black Heaven sect had changed a lot. What was most noteworthy was the cultivation of the disciples. In just 1 year, almost every disciple's cultivation had improved. This was especially true for Daoists like Murong Xian and Nangong Huang. Under Chu Kuangren's nurturing, their cultivation levels had improved tremendously. He arrived at the Longevity Hall. The elders had already gathered together. Upon seeing Chu Kuangren, everyone bowed to him. Greetings, Sect Master. All right, enough with the pleasantries. Let's begin. Chu Kuangren chuckled and sat on the main seat of the hall. The elders began to report their work. Most of them were trivial matters. Halfway through the meeting, Chu Kuangren started to yawn. It was too boring. By the way, some time ago, the Horizon Wing sect asked us for help, saying that they've been attacked by the tormented souls. I've already sent someone to deal with it. Elder Ruyan suddenly said. Chu Kuangren's interest was piqued when he heard that. Tormented souls? Yes, the Horizon Wing sect is located near the ancient battlefield. It's not unusual for them to be attacked by the tormented souls occasionally, Elder Ruyan said. The tormented souls originated from the ancient battlefield, one of the 10 great forbidden areas. They were a unique existence formed by the combination of the ancient battlefield's boundless ferocious qi and the resentment of the deceased. They usually lingered around the ancient battlefield. It was not unusual for the Horizon Wing sect to be attacked by the tormented souls. In the past, the Black Heaven sect had also sent people there to provide support, but it was soon over. The elders began to report the rest of the matters. However, the words ancient battlefield still lingered in Chu Kuangren's mind. He recalled the sage war that the eternal sage ruler mentioned, and the ancient battlefield was the battlefield of that sage war. He couldn't help but want to go and take a look. I've decided. I want to go to the ancient battlefield. The elders were still reporting their work. They were stunned when they heard Chu Kuangren's words and looked at each other. Sect leader, why do you want to go to the ancient battlefield? To gain some experience. Chu Kuangren said casually. Sect leader, do you still need experience? One of the elders said speechlessly. The others had the same expression. Sect leader, stop joking. You can even kill a sage. What's the point of you training? Of course. But what about the Black Heaven sect if you leave? After I leave, Elder Ruyan will temporarily take over all the sect's affairs. Contact me if you need anything. This, Elder Ruyan and the others were still a little hesitant. All right, it's decided then. The Black Heaven sect has improved a lot in the past year, and you guys have managed everything well. I don't think you guys will stop operating just because I'm not around, right? Chu Kuangren chuckled. Even the heavens pity me. He had been cooped up in the Black Heaven sect for a year now. If he did not go out for a walk soon, his body would grow rusty. All right then. Elder Ruyan nodded. In fact, it was not that they did not want Chu Kuangren to leave. It was just that Chu Kuangren was the main reason why the Black Heaven sect could develop to this stage in the past year. Unknowingly, they had developed a certain dependence on this young sect leader who was only 20 years old. When they heard that he wanted to leave the sect, they were at a loss for what to do. This was something unimaginable in the past. How could they develop such a dependence on a young sect leader? All right. Chu Kuangren smiled. Lan Yu, let's go. Let's pack our things and get ready to go out and have fun. No, train. Deep within the Black Heaven sect. Inside the cottage, Black Heaven's third forefather smiled and said, "This little guy is going out to cause trouble again. Should we call someone to follow him?" No need. Black Heaven's second forefather's voice rang out. He can even kill a sage now. He doesn't need any protectors anymore. Sages were the highest combat strength known in the Firmament Star. Without a doubt, Chu Kuangren was now one of the most powerful people in the world. Why would he need a protector? Who knows what kind of trouble this guy will cause when he goes out? Honorable Xianxia chuckled. Thinking back to Chu Kuangren's past expeditions, which one of them did not turn the world upside down and cause chaos? If he went out now, who knew what kind of trouble he would cause? Honorable Xianxi's words made the other forefathers speechless. This little guy is good at everything, but he's just too good at causing trouble. This is good too. Young people should be energetic. Let him do whatever he wants. We old guys are here to handle it anyway. Black Heaven's second forefather laughed. The Black Heaven sect was now unprecedentedly powerful. Besides Chu Kuangren, who already had the combat strength of a sage, there were also the three sages, second forefather, third forefather, Fairfrost sage, and Honorable Xianxia, who was about to become a sage. On top of that, the seventh forefather was about to ascend as well. Once he succeeded, he would be another boundary sage. Not to mention, besides the Black Heaven sect, the School of White Lotus and the Royal Azure Dynasty were also Chu Kuangren's strong support. Chapter 227. Outside the Black Heaven sect's mountain gate. In the past year, a few tea houses had opened a few kilometers away from the mountain gate. These tea houses did not have much business, but they were still open. That was because the tea house owners were spies from the various sage orthodoxies. They were spies sent to keep an eye on the Black Heaven sect. A year ago, Chu Kuangren had killed 2 of the Murong clan sages, shocking the world. The sage orthodoxies of the Azure Dragon domain were especially fearful of him, and the Black Heaven sect's reputation grew stronger because of that. All the orthodoxies were wondering if the Black Heaven sect would take this opportunity to expand their territory, strengthen their forces, and endanger themselves. However, to everyone's surprise, the Black Heaven sect did not seem to have any intention of expanding their territory. On the contrary, the Black Heaven sect kept a lower profile than before. They did not make any big moves, which confused many people. Even so, many orthodoxies still did not dare to be careless. They had sent many spies to keep an eye on the Black Heaven sect. The few tea houses outside the mountain gate were the places where the spies gathered. Boss, don't you think the Black Heaven sect is too low profile? A year has passed, and there's no movement at all. The Black Heaven sect's reputation is slowly fading, a dark-skinned man said in the tea house. Next to him, a middle-aged man said, "This is the brilliance of the Black Heaven sect." A year ago, if the Black Heaven sect took advantage of the situation, it would definitely cause a backlash from the other sage orthodoxies. Now, they seem to be doing nothing, but they're actually accumulating strength in the dark. It seems like they've lost their momentum, but the fact that Chu Kuangren had killed 2 sages is still a fact that no one dares to make a move. At this point, the middle-aged man shook his head and said, "I'm afraid everyone has underestimated this young sect leader. He may be young, but he has a unique style of doing things. See, who would dare to underestimate him? He can even kill a sage. How insane must he be?" But this Chu Kuangren has been in the Black Heaven sect for a year now, and we haven't even seen him once. Rumor has it that this person is peerless and peerless. I really want to meet him. Boss, what's wrong? As the dark-skinned man spoke, he suddenly realized that the surroundings had become extremely quiet. The middle-aged man's eyes were staring into the distance with a solemn expression. There was even a hint of shock in his eyes. It was not just the middle-aged man. The people in these tea houses all had the same grave expression, the same horrified expression, looking in the same direction. The dark-skinned man followed everyone's gaze. On the mountain path, a man and a woman were slowly walking towards the crowd. Both of them were peerless in their generation and had unparalleled beauty, especially the man at the very front. He wore a wide-sleeved white robe, and his black hair reached his waist. A magnificent ancient sword hung at his waist, and his temperament was extraordinary. All the sceneries in the world seemed to be overshadowed by him. At first glance, the dark-skinned man recognized this person. Chu Kuangren. The person in front of them was none other than Chu Kuangren, who was feared by all orthodoxies and overshadowed by all sky prides in this world. Didn't you want to see him? What do you think? The middle-aged man forced himself to calm down, but his voice still trembled uncontrollably. Truly peerless and unparalleled, the dark-skinned man said. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu slowly sat down in front of the middle-aged man. At first, everyone looked as if they were facing a formidable enemy, but then they laughed bitterly in their hearts. In front of such a person, they had no ability to resist at all. No matter how cautious they were, it was useless. "Boss, 2 bowls of tea." Chu Kuangren smiled. Sure. The middle-aged man quickly took out the best tea leaves in the tea house and poured 2 bowls for Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu. "How long have you guys been here?" Chu Kuangren smiled as he sipped his tea. "It's been a year." That's long enough. Let's go." The middle-aged man and the others looked at each other and laughed bitterly. Since Chu Kuangren had said to leave, they did not dare to say anything. "Yes, we understand." After finishing his tea, Chu Kuangren got up and was ready to leave. Seeing him walk out of the Black Heaven sect, the middle-aged man could not help but ask, "Sect leader Chu, where are you going?" "I've been here for a year, and I suddenly feel like going out for a walk," Chu Kuangren said. He said it calmly, but everyone was shocked when they heard it. After he left, the middle-aged man and the others immediately took out their communication compass and contacted their respective orthodoxies. Quick, informed the sect leader. "Chu Kuangren has entered the realm." Messages were sent to the orthodoxies. After a year of peace, the realm was once again stirred up because of one person's entry into the realm. Taishu Temple. The Taishu Temple Lord was holding a Daoist scripture in his hand as he sat and sparred with Wuxia. Suddenly, an elder walked in with a solemn expression. The Taishu Temple Lord asked, "Elder, what's the matter?" "Chu Kuangren has entered the realm." These 6 simple words caused the 2 people with the highest status in the Taishu Temple to feel their Dao hearts palpitate and their pupils constricted. After a long time, the Taishu Temple Lord laughed bitterly. He finally couldn't sit still anymore. Inside the Thunder Temple, the current abbot was holding a string of prayer beads in his hand, meditating and chanting. Suddenly, a monk walked up to him and whispered something into his ear. Perhaps the information contained in that sentence was too shocking, but the monk's hand trembled and accidentally broke the prayer beads in his hand. One by one, the prayer beads fell to the ground with a continuous dripping sound. Amitabha, the realm is no longer at peace. After a long time, the abbot chanted the name of Buddha. Royal Azure Dynasty. When the Royal Azure Dynasty king received the news, he could not help but laugh out loud. "Ha, that guy has finally entered the realm." Seeing him like that, The court officials were puzzled. Who could it be that made the king so excited? Who is it that you're talking about? Some of the court officials asked curiously. Who else could it be? Of course it's my son-in-law, the royal Azure Dynasty King Chu Kuangren. The royal Azure Dynasty King laughed. As soon as he said that, the court officials were shocked and gasped. It's him! Chu Kuangren, my god, he has entered the realm. Somewhere in the Azure Dragon domain, in a forest that was always shrouded in mist. Here, there was a palace. The palace was the residence of the Azure Dragon domain's current leader of the demonic orthodoxies, the corpse refining sect. Many demonic cultivators were gathered here today. They were dividing their territories. Ever since the Euphoria sect and Ashura sect's cultivators were wiped out by Chu Kuangren, the other demonic orthodoxies took the opportunity to take over the territories that originally belonged to the Euphoria sect and Ashura sect, forming the new three demonic orthodoxies. Today was the day for the three demonic orthodoxies to negotiate. However, at that moment, a demonic disciple ran in anxiously. Oh no, Chu Kuangren has entered the realm. The demonic cultivators' expressions changed drastically. A chill ran from the soles of their feet to the top of their skulls. Quick, inform all the disciples to hide. If they encounter Chu Kuangren, it's more important to stay alive. Damn it, how long has this guy been quiet? Why has he entered the realm again? How are we going to divide our territories now? With this guy around, we'd better keep our tails between our legs. On this day, a man walked out of the mountain gate with a sword hanging from his waist. He had messed up the Daoist's Daoist heart, broken the monk's prayer beads, shocked the court officials, and scared the demonic cultivators out of their wits. Chapter 228. Chu Kuangren's entry into the realm shocked everyone. They could not help but be concerned. The first time Chu Kuangren entered the realm, he killed an honorable supreme and 100,000 demonic cultivators. He was so powerful that the Sky Prides could not even lift their heads. The second time he entered the realm was after he went into closed-door meditation for 3 years. Everyone thought that he had been eliminated by time. In the end, he still dominated the world single-handedly. He killed honorable supremes in Sword Prayer City and was ranked first in the 100-sword spectrum. He sparred with a sage in Whitelock Mountain, created an emperor technique, took over as the Black Heaven sect leader, and was recognized by the godly Phoenix as its master. The most terrifying thing was that he went to the Black Warrior domain and killed 2 sages of the Murong clan within a few days. This was the third time he entered the realm after a year as the sect leader. Who knew what kind of trouble he would cause this time? All forces in the world were paying close attention to his movements. There were 10 forbidden areas in Firmament Star. These 10 forbidden areas were very famous in Firmament Star. Even sages were wary of them and did not dare to venture too deep into them. The ancient battlefield was one of them. Among the 10 forbidden areas, the ancient battlefield's danger level was relatively low. As long as one did not venture too deep into it, one could still explore it. Moreover, due to the many wars that had happened in the ancient battlefield, many treasures and opportunities of fortune were left behind. Hence, this place attracted many cultivators to explore, forming a unique adventuring culture. Ancient battlefield, outer zone. Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu were walking on a desert as the wind and sand blew past them. If an ordinary person walked in this sandstorm without any protection, it would be extremely uncomfortable. It would be difficult for them to even speak because the sandstorm would rush into their mouths. However, Chu Kuangren and his companion were both powerful cultivators. They channeled their spiritual power and released a layer of chi barrier on the surface of their bodies, easily isolating them from the sandstorm. It did not affect them at all. Chu Kuangren looked into the depths of the desert. Although it was hard to see with the naked eye, he could sense that there was an extremely powerful ferocious chi there. Who knew how many battles and lives had been lost to form such a ferocious chi of such scale? The ancient battlefield is divided into the outer zone, inner zone, and core zone. The sage war that the eternal sage mentioned must have happened in the core zone. However, the ferocious chi there is too strong, so it's not easy to venture in. Chu Kuangren murmured, "Young master, look, there's a city over there." Lan Yu said as he pointed into the distance. In the distance, a majestic city stood in the middle of the sandstorm. That should be Sun's Oil City. Chu Kuangren said. Sun's Oil City was the only city in the periphery of the ancient battlefield, and it was also a place where countless cultivators who came to adventure gathered. The two of them walked in the direction of Sun's Oil City and soon arrived. The city gate was wide open, but there was no one guarding the city, and the discipline in the city was extremely loose. Pedestrians came and went, and most of them looked travel-worn. What's more, there were people who fought on the streets and no one cared. Wow, the people of this place are quite tough. Chu Kuangren chuckled. They wanted to find a slightly cleaner place to reorganize themselves, and at the same time, gather information about this ancient battlefield. After walking around for a long time, he finally found a restaurant in the city. This restaurant looked quite good, and it looked quite high-end. To be able to open such a restaurant in such a place, he must be someone with some skill. Hi there, would you like to have a meal or stay? As soon as they entered, a middle-aged man walked up to them. Chu Kuangren was surprised to see this person. Boss Qian. This person was none other than Qian Fugui. Qian Fugui, the owner of the famed sword restaurant in the Hidden Sword Canyon. Qian Fugui's eyes lit up. Although this person's face was covered by a spiritual veil, Qian Fugui could immediately tell that this person was Chu Kuangren from his voice. Oh, esteemed guests. Brother Chu, please come in. Qian Fugui quickly welcomed the two into the restaurant and booked a private room for them. Inside the private room, Chu Kuangren looked at Qian Fugui and said, Boss Qian, don't tell me you're the owner of this restaurant too. I'm sorry, Brother Chu. Heh. The Fugui firm is indeed the largest firm in Firmament Star. You have business everywhere. Chu Kuangren said, revealing Qian Fugui's identity. Upon hearing that, Qian Fugui's face froze for a moment before returning to normal. How did you know, Brother Chu? Qian Fugui saw that his identity was exposed, so he did not hide it anymore. Yes. All right then. All right, let's cut to the chase. Since you're here, could it be that you're waiting for me? That's right. The Fugui firm has businesses all over the world, so their intelligence network isn't bad either. I knew that Brother Chu had come to the ancient battlefield, so I came to Sun's Oil City to try my luck. I didn't expect to meet you here. Why are you looking for me? Nothing much. Would you believe me if I told you that I just want to be friends with you? Qian Fugui smiled. I would. Chu Kuangren nodded. Because there are many people in this world who want to be friends with me. Boss Qian won't make a difference. With his current status and strength, there were indeed many people in this world who wanted to be friends with him. Brother Chu, you're quite straightforward. Qian Fugui said helplessly. All right, if there's nothing else, I'll go rest now. Chu Kuangren said. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly heard a commotion from downstairs. He saw two groups of people with weapons in their hands, facing each other on the street. The atmosphere was tense, and a fight could break out at any time. It's the people from the Horizon Wing Troop and the Tenacious Tiger Troop. Qian Fugui glanced over and smiled. Quite a number of cultivators from Sun's Oil City had come to the ancient battlefield for an adventure in search of serendipity. In addition to the lone cultivators, most of them had come in groups. Since this was the ancient battlefield, the adventuring groups formed by these cultivators were also known as troops. Some of the stronger troops even had honorables. Chu Kuangren took a look and realized that these two troops seemed to be in a conflict over a supreme weapon. The reason was that the Horizon Wing Troop had found a supreme weapon at the outer perimeter of the ancient battlefield. However, one of the Tenacious Tiger Troop members claimed that they were the ones who found it first, so the Horizon Wing Troop took it away. Once they returned to Sun's Oil City, these two troops gathered and prepared to fight. Just for a supreme weapon? Is it worth it? Chu Kuangren smiled and shook his head. Inside his sacred emerald sword case, there were many supreme swords. Including the gacha he had drawn this year, he had almost 20 sacred swords. Moreover, that was just the swords. He had lost count of the other equipment that he had drawn, and he had thrown them all into the Black Heaven Sect's treasury. Brother Chu, you're just like a well-fed man who doesn't know the suffering of the hungry, Qian Fugui said helplessly. The supremacy artifact was already very rare in the outside world. Some supremacies might not even have a supremacy artifact. By the way, the leader of the Horizon Wing Troop is a Daoist from the Horizon Wing sect. The Horizon Wing sect is a subsidiary force of the Black Heaven sect. Oh, is that so? Chu Kuangren was slightly surprised. If that was the case, then the Horizon Wing Troop was his underling's underling. Should he get involved or not? Chapter 229. Wang Hu, don't go overboard. On the street, the captain of the Horizon Wing Battle Team, Leng Changkong, said coldly to the captain of the Tenacious Tiger Battle Team. Opposite him, Wang Hu said indifferently, that supreme weapon must belong to my Tenacious Tiger Battle Team. There is no doubt about that. That's impossible. That supreme artifact was clearly discovered and brought back by Lin Tian first. How can it be yours just because you say so? That's right. Today, I'll make it clear that I must take away that supreme weapon. Otherwise, I won't let this matter rest. Supreme weapons were too precious to them. One had to know that the fiendish Tiger Squad had worked hard in the ancient battlefield for dozens of years, yet they had only come across a few supreme weapons. That means we'll have to fight. Leng Changkong said coldly. Come on. Wang Hu let out a low growl, and an extremely powerful Daoist rhyme erupted from his body. A huge pressure enveloped Leng Changkong and the rest. This is the perfected paradise realm. Leng Changkong's expression changed slightly. Initially, his strength was about the same as Wang Hu's. They were both at the late-stage paradise realm. However, Wang Hu had broken through before him. No wonder he dared to be so unyielding today. Leng Changkong, our two battle teams have always been at odds with each other. I've been suppressing my anger for a long time now. Today, I'll settle everything with you. Wang Hu chuckled and threw a punch. The violent Daoist rhyme instantly locked onto Leng Changkong. Meanwhile, Leng Changkong unsheathed the long sword at his waist and instantly engaged Wang Hu in combat. The others also found their own opponents. A huge battle broke out on the street. Inside the restaurant, Chu Kuangren watched the battle between the two parties and said, this Wang Hu is quite bold to attack a Daoist from the Horizon Wing sect. After all, the Horizon Wing sect was a subsidiary force of the Black Heaven sect. This is a matter between the younger generation. The upper echelons of the Black Heaven sect shouldn't interfere. Besides, the Black Heaven sect has so many affiliated forces. Why would they care about a Daoist from the Horizon Wing sect? Qian Fugui laughed. He was right. The Black Heaven sect had many affiliated forces, and if they had to manage every single Daoist from every single one of them, they would have been extremely busy. This was also the reason why Wang Hu dared to make a move. He was certain that the Black Heaven sect would not care about such a trivial matter. It was a pity. He did not expect the Black Heaven sect leader to be watching this battle less than 200 meters away from him. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare to do this even if he was given 100 guts. Wang Hu roared with laughter and threw a punch. The punch was unusually domineering, and Leng Changkong's expression was extremely solemn. He knew that he might not be able to withstand this punch. But sitting and waiting for death was no different from waiting for death. He fiercely slashed with his sword. How can your sword chi block me? Wang Hu shouted. However, the moment the sword chi and the fist force collided, Wang Hu's expression changed. A majestic and peerless power exploded, instantly tearing the fist force apart and sending him flying. Boss? What's going on? The faces of the fiendish Tiger Battle Squad changed drastically. They rushed to the front of Wang Hu and saw that there were streaks of fine and dense sword energy crisscrossing on his body, tearing out streaks of bloody marks. The inner armor that Wang Hu had used to save his life had long been shattered. He lay in the ruins, breathing weakly and barely alive. Expert, let's go, Wang Hu said. The fiendish Tiger Battle Squad quickly guarded their surroundings as they led Wang Hu away. Meanwhile, the Horizon Wing Squad came to Leng Changkong's side. That's amazing, leader. That's right, I didn't expect you to defeat Wang Hu. Leng Changkong, on the other hand, was at a loss. How could he not know his own level? Not to mention defeating Wang, who, it would have been difficult for him to even protect himself with that sword attack of his just now. What exactly was going on? Could it be that someone was helping him in the dark? At that thought, Leng Changkong cupped his fists and said, "I'm Leng Changkong from the Horizon Wing sect. Thank you for your help, expert. Please show yourself. Come to the private room on the second floor of the restaurant." An indifferent voice rang in Leng Changkong's ears. He understood tacitly and led his team members to a restaurant not far away. Inside the private room of the restaurant, Chu Kuangren smiled faintly. That Wang who is lucky to have a life-saving inner armor on him. Otherwise, he would have died from that attack. He was the one who had secretly saved Leng Changkong. After all, Wang who was his follower's follower. However, what surprised him was that Wang who was wearing a life-saving inner armor. Otherwise, his Daoist rhyme would have killed him several times over. Brother Chu, since you wish to meet the people from the Horizon Wing sect, I shall not disturb you any longer. Take care, Boss Qian. Qian Fugue cupped his hands and smiled before he left. Not long after, Leng Changkong and the others entered the private room. They were stunned to see Chu Kuangren and Qian Fugue. Both of their faces were shrouded in a faint layer of spiritual light, making it impossible to see their faces. However, Leng Changkong did not mind that they were hiding their faces. He stepped forward and said, "Thank you for your help just now." "Yes, have a seat." Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. "Thank you." "You're welcome. I only saved you because I'm from the Black Heaven sect, which is somewhat related to you guys." Leng Changkong and the others were shocked. They did not expect Chu Kuangren to have such a background. "Oh, a fellow Daoist from the Black Heaven sect. Forgive me for my rudeness. May I know your name?" Leng Changkong asked. "My surname is Chu." Chu Kuangren did not reveal his surname. Leng Changkong did not mind, and the few of them began to chat. "By the way, Brother Ling, I have a question. Brother Ling, since you're so talented, didn't the Horizon Wing sect arrange a protector for you?" Chu Kuangren was puzzled. After all, it was an honorable orthodoxy, so they should at least have a protector for their Daoist. At the mention of that, Leng Changkong's eyes dimmed. "Some time ago, I encountered a high-level tormented soul in the ancient battlefield. My protector sacrificed himself to protect me." "I see. I'm sorry. It's all right. I've come to the ancient battlefield this time to explore. Brother Leng, you've been in the ancient battlefield for so many years, so you should be very familiar with the surrounding area. I wonder if you can give me some pointers?" Chu Kuangren said. That's easy. We're planning to go in there tomorrow anyway. If you don't mind, how about we go together? Then I shall accept your invitation." The next day, Chu Kuangren got up and started the lottery. "Congratulations, host. You've obtained the legendary technique, Tathagata Rebirth Mantra." Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. "I didn't expect it to be a legendary technique. But why does the name sound like a Buddhist technique?" He then extracted it. Suddenly, a large amount of enlightenment surged into his mind. After the heaven-slaying sword drawing technique, the spring breeze healing technique, and the sword chi transformation technique, he had mastered another emperor technique, the Tathagata Rebirth Mantra. Moreover, since it was obtained from the lottery, he did not need to spend any time to understand it. The mysteries of this technique were already fully understood the moment he extracted it. Just as Chu Kuangren expected, this was indeed a Buddhist emperor technique. This emperor technique was very powerful, but Chu Kuangren did not have the opportunity to use it, so he did not bother with it anymore. He went out and brought Lan Yu to the city gate of Sunsoil City. This was the place where he had agreed to meet Leng Changkong and the others. Chapter 230. I can't believe Chu Kuangren is in Sunsoil City. If he's here, we might stand a chance against the tormented army. The Horizon Wing sect master's eyes lit up as he said. As the saying went, those with great reputations were not just for show. With Chu Kuangren's reputation, there was no doubt about his strength. If they could get his help, things would be much easier for them. Sect Master, Brother Chu is now deep in the ancient battlefield. He even said that he wants to explore the core area. I don't think he'll be able to make it here anytime soon, Leng Changkong said helplessly. At that, the Horizon Wing sect master's expression changed slightly. He then sighed and said, "This is fate." It was not easy to see hope, but now it was gone. Just as they were talking, the tormented army that had lost their leader did not stop and charged towards Sunsoil City. Although they did not have the support of a military formation, their overwhelming resentment was still extremely terrifying. Countless tormented souls danced in the air as their resentment turned into a black mist that covered the sky, causing the entire Sunsoil City to darken. When the tormented army was less than 10 kilometers away from Sunsoil City, their terrifying resentment aura enveloped everyone. Among the crowd, a Horizon Wing sect disciple held a long sword with a pale face. His forehead was drenched in sweat, and his hand that held the sword was trembling slightly. When the tormented army arrived before them, everyone could see the ferocious faces of the tormented army. "Kill!" A disciple who was the leader yelled and took the lead to charge. Behind him, the Horizon Wing sect disciples roared as if they were cheering themselves on and charged towards the tormented army. "Kill!" The Horizon Wing sect master and the other experts rushed out too. Surges of Daoist rhymes erupted and collided with the tormented army with spiritual power. Without the support of a military formation, the tormented army could no longer gather all their strength. Hence, they fought on their own, which greatly reduced their combat strength. However, a million tormented army was not to be underestimated. The moment they clashed, the Horizon Wing sect began to suffer casualties, and the number of casualties was increasing rapidly. Compared to a million tormented army, the Horizon Wing sect had too few people. However, no one retreated. If they retreated, their homes would be turned into hell. Tens of millions of civilians would die. "Kill! You evil spirits, come at me!" The cultivators of the Horizon Wing sect roared as they brandished their weapons and circulated their spiritual energy, using their flesh and blood to erect a barrier for the commoners. Some of the fleeing cultivators stopped and saw this scene. This scene had a great impact on them. They couldn't understand why the people of the Horizon Wing sect would send themselves to their deaths when it was clearly a battle that they were bound to lose. When they died, the tens of millions of civilians would die as well. Their deaths were practically worthless. "Damn it, I think I'm a coward." "Me too. Damn it, it's just a bunch of tormented souls. Let's go back and fight it out with them. Our long dragon troop will never be deserters." Go back. Some cultivators were affected by the tragedy of the Horizon Wing sect, and their hearts surged with hot blood. They gritted their teeth and actually returned to Sunsoil City. There were also many people who scoffed at these cultivators. "He's just courting death." That's right. The tormented army is too strong. How can we possibly hold them off with just these few people? They're just sending themselves to their deaths. In Sunsoil City, the people of the Horizon Wing sect were fighting the tormented souls. In just a short period of time, more than a third of the Horizon Wing sect had died. Even with the help of other cultivators, they could not make up for their loss. Seeing this, the Horizon Wing sect master was deeply saddened. Even if we've destroyed the army's formation, it's still difficult to hold off these millions of tormented souls. Is this all we can do? The heavens are unfair. Can we really bear to see these people suffer? He let out a long howl and continued to fight with his sword. Among the crowd, Wu Yi formed a seal with his hands and channeled the spiritual energy around him. Buddhist light manifested, and with each Buddhist light, a tormented soul would perish. He was very powerful, and the Buddhist light was very lethal against the tormented souls. However, he was only one person. No matter how powerful the Buddhist light was, it could not compare to the millions of tormented souls. It was just a drop in the bucket. Leng Changkong took out a new long sword and fought the tormented souls while the people of the Horizon Wing troops surrounded him. The tormented souls around him surged in like a tidal wave. Soon, everyone had reached their limit. Just as the troop was about to be annihilated, a sudden rumble came from the sky as if something was falling from the sky. A stream of light suddenly landed in front of Leng Changkong and the others. An overbearing sword-based Daoist rhyme erupted, and all the tormented souls within a radius of 100 feet were turned into ashes by this Daoist rhyme. Only then did Lung Changkong and the others see clearly that it was a sword that had landed in front of them. It was an incomparably beautiful and exquisite sword. The Horizon Wing Sect Master, Wu Yi, and the others were overjoyed. They did not recognize this sword. However, they were extremely familiar with this sword-based Daoist rhyme because the sword chi that Lung Changkong had summoned earlier contained this kind of sword chi. He's here. That person is finally here. Wu Yi and the Horizon Wing Sect Master murmured with hope in their eyes. A peerless figure dressed in white descended from the sky. He stepped on the hilt of the sword, and his robes fluttered in the wind. Then, a terrifying and majestic sword chi erupted from his seemingly frail body, sweeping in all directions like an endless gale. All the tormented souls that came into contact with the sword chi were instantly vaporized. At that moment, everyone's attention was attracted by that white robe. Their gazes landed on that person, and everyone who saw him was dazed. Even the tormented souls that filled the sky were stunned by that person's aura. That person was none other than Chu Kuangren. At that moment, a dazzling white light bloomed in the sky. Lan Yu, who was clad in gorgeous silver-white armor, had her wings spread out. She held the scepter of light in her hand and activated the holy radiant physique transformation to kill the tormented souls. Surges of light-based Daoist rhyme gushed out from her body and turned into a dazzling white light. All the tormented souls that came into contact with this white light were annihilated. Young Emperor Lan Yu. Everyone recognized Lan Yu. Rumor had it that young Emperor Lan Yu and Chu Kuangren were inseparable. Since Chu Kuangren was there, naturally she would be there as well. Greetings, Sect Leader, Horizon Wing Sect Master. The Horizon Wing Sect Master, who was battling the tormented souls, yelled. The Horizon Wing Sect was a subsidiary force of the Black Heaven Sect. Since Chu Kuangren was the Black Heaven Sect leader, he was naturally the Horizon Wing Sect leader as well. Chu Kuangren looked around. Most of them were from the Horizon Wing Sect. Chu Kuangren took a deep breath and could roughly guess what had happened. Everyone, I'm sorry that I'm late. He looked at the tormented souls that filled the sky, and a cold glint flashed across his eyes. The sword-based Daoist rhyme on his body became even more domineering. The tormented souls that were present seemed to have sensed the threat that Chu Kuangren posed to them. They roared at him and charged towards him. The descendant self-sword beneath Chu Kuangren's feet trembled slightly before it rose into the air and landed in his hand. With a gentle wave of his hand, a purple sword ray erupted and spread out like a tidal wave. The tormented souls that were caught in the sword ray were easily annihilated. With a single slash, tens of thousands of tormented souls were reduced to nothingness. Everyone was dumbfounded by what they saw. They had been fighting for so long and suffered heavy casualties. However, the combined number of tormented souls that they had killed was not as terrifying as Chu Kuangren's single slash. Is this the strength that can kill a sage? The Horizon Wing Sect Master murmured. Chapter 231. A single slash had killed tens of thousands of tormented souls. The combat strength that Chu Kuangren displayed shocked everyone at the scene. The tormented souls also sensed that Chu Kuangren was not to be trifled with, so they no longer targeted him. Instead, they went after the others instead. The war continued. Chu Kuangren frowned slightly. Although he was not afraid of the million tormented souls, it was not an easy task to kill them all. Even if it was tens of thousands of slashes, it would still take dozens of slashes. Moreover, these tormented souls would not gather together for him to kill. By the time he was done with the tormented souls, most of the people from the Horizon Wing Sect would be dead. This was something that he did not want to see happen. Since I'm here, I won't let the casualties increase. I wonder if 1,000,000 tormented souls can withstand my Buddha's light. Chu Kuangren's eyes shot out a ray of golden light. He put away the Kuan-Wu sword and sat cross-legged in the void. An incomparably mysterious Daoist rhyme suddenly spread. This Daoist rhyme was sensed by Wu Yi, who was not far away. His face was filled with shock and uncertainty. This is Daoist rhymes emanated from Chu Kuangren's body. Dazzling golden light radiated from his body, bringing with it a vast, bright, and merciful Buddhist will. Tathagata rebirth mantra. Chu Kuangren had a compassionate look on his face as the Buddhist light on his body reached its peak. The Buddhist light that was as vast as the ocean spread out. One by one, the tormented souls were affected by the Buddhist light. They shrieked in agony as the resentment on their bodies melted like snow melting under the scorching sun. It was the legendary cultivation technique that he had obtained from the lottery, the Tathagata rebirth mantra. Wu was stunned by the scene in front of him. Buddha light. Why is there Buddhist light on his body? Buddhist light was a unique characteristic of Buddhist cultivators. Ordinary cultivators did not have it. Wasn't Chu Kuangren a sword cultivator? How could there be Buddhist light? And a Buddhist light of this scale? Heavens! Even the abbot can't compare, Wu said in shock. If his Buddhist light was a small stream, then what Chu Kuangren had unleashed was a boundless ocean. The two could not be compared at all. But then a scene that subverted Leafless' worldview happened. Chu Kuangren's majestic Buddhist light manifested and gradually formed an ancient golden Buddha above his head. This golden Buddha was thousands of feet tall. It put its palms together, and its body erupted with a brilliant Buddhist light that tore through the clouds of resentment. How is this possible? Wu was dumbfounded. He didn't dare to imagine the scene in front of him. Oh my God, did he just see Buddha? The golden Buddha appeared in the world, and a vast golden Buddha light spread out like the sea. His lips opened and closed as if he was chanting. In an instant, golden lotuses sprang up from the ground, and mysterious Sanskrit sounds reverberated in the sky. Everyone's soul seemed to have been purified, and there was peace. The millions of tormented souls shrieked incessantly. The sound of Sanskrit and the light of Buddha intertwined and continuously disintegrated their resentment and baleful aura, erasing the root of their existence. Is he a living Buddha? We looked at Chu Kuangren, who was sitting in the air with his legs crossed and a compassionate look on his face. It wasn't just him. This giant Buddha could be seen from thousands of miles away. Countless people knelt on the ground and kowtowed when they saw it. An incredibly surging Buddhist Daoist rhyme spread out, and even the top-notch cultivators in the entire firmament star felt it. This Daoist rhyme is so sacred and peaceful. Is it a Buddha? It even contains an emperor's aura. Has an emperor appeared in the Buddhist orthodoxy? Could it be that a Buddhist emperor has appeared? Impossible. Emperors have been missing for so long, and the era of great battles has just begun. How can an emperor appear so soon? This direction is the ancient battlefield. The sages were shocked. Surges of spiritual thoughts continuously surged towards the ancient battlefield. When they saw the giant Buddha that was thousands of feet tall and emanated a sacred and ancient vibe, they were all shocked. If not for the fact that the giant Buddha was not a physical entity, they would have suspected that they were looking at the Buddha himself. It was too shocking. However, they were dumbfounded when they saw Chu Kuangren sitting cross-legged under the giant Buddha statue with the same Buddhist light emanating from his body. What's going on? Is it Chu Kuangren? This giant Buddha is condensed from the Buddhist light on his body. Oh my God, he's the one who created this giant Buddha. What's going on? Isn't Chu Kuangren a sword cultivator from the Black Heaven sect? How did he get involved with the Buddhist orthodoxy? Even the Thunder Temple's virtuous monks don't have a Buddhist light as strong as his. How did he do it? Could he be the reincarnation of a living Buddha? Reincarnation of a living Buddha? A Buddhist cultivator? The sages felt that this joke had gone too far. Chu Kuangren had killed sages and young emperors. Every time he killed, he would turn the world upside down. Where did he look like a merciful Buddhist cultivator? However, the truth was right in front of them. The Buddhist light on Chu Kuangren's body could not be faked. I knew it. Now that Chu Kuangren has entered the realm, the world will not be peaceful anymore. It's only been a few days, and he's already causing trouble again. One of the sages could not help but lament. The other sages agreed with him too. Why, do you guys have something to say? Please take a closer look. This little guy is now purifying the tormented souls and saving the world. This is a great merit, so why are you guys calling it a troublemaker? At that moment, the Black Heaven sect's sage's spiritual thought said. Only then did the sages notice the existence of the million tormented souls. This Buddhist light is too dazzling. I didn't even notice these tormented souls. Where did they come from? Looks like Chu Kuangren is about to be dealt with. The sages were paying close attention. Under the purification of the Buddhist light, the million tormented souls' resentment and ferocious qi dissipated, and their ferocious faces gradually became peaceful. They bowed to Chu Kuangren as if thanking him for freeing them from their endless pain. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Rest in peace, everyone. Chu Kuangren put his palms together, and a compassionate look appeared on his already handsome face as he said to the countless tormented souls. The million tormented army then turned into light spots and disappeared. The scene before them shocked everyone at the scene. They looked at Chu Kuangren with reverence in their eyes. At this moment, even if Chu Kuangren said that he was a living Buddha, everyone would probably believe him. After purifying the tormented souls, Chu Kuangren put down his hands. The boundless Buddhist light gradually returned to his body, and his expression returned to normal. He saw that after the tormented souls disappeared, a cloud of strange black qi suddenly appeared in the void. The aura of this black qi was very similar to ferocious qi, but it was many times purer. It did not dissipate even after being purified by the Buddhist light. This thing is a little strange. Chu Kuangren reached out his hand and used his spiritual power to form a giant hand to grab it. He then carefully sensed it for a while. Suddenly, he remembered that the Lu nation ruler once mentioned that this tormented army was formed by the Tranquil nation ruler stealing the source of ferocious qi from the forbidden area. Could this be the source of ferocious qi? Chu Kuangren thought for a while before he took out a box and placed it inside. He then threw it into his yin and yang ring. He then looked at the cultivators around him, and a mysterious Daoist rhyme emanated from his body like a spring breeze. Everyone felt the fatigue on their bodies disappear, and the injuries on their bodies quickly healed. The crowd was shocked, and they could not help but be impressed by Chu Kuangren's means. Chapter 232. Brother Chu, I know I may not be able to dissuade you, but I still have to say that the ancient battlefield's core area is extremely terrifying. Even sages are afraid of it. Brother Chu, please consider this carefully. I understand. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. Then, he looked at the sword in Leng Changkong's hand and smiled. Brother Leng, can I have your sword for a moment? Leng Changkong was a little confused, but he still took out his sword. Chu Kuangren took the sword and gently swiped his finger across the blade. A surge of Daoist rhyme and sword qi was then infused into the sword. This sword contains a surge of my sword qi. Brother Leng, if you encounter any danger on your way back, you can activate it. Chu Kuangren smiled. Thank you, Leng Changkong said solemnly. Both parties parted ways. Chu Kuangren brought Lan Yu deeper into the inner zone. With his treasure locating skill, Chu Kuangren had found many treasures in the ancient battlefield. Although most of them were not worth his attention, he could still bring them back to the Black Heaven sect and hand them over to Elder Ruyan. These could all be used as daily expenses for the sect's operations. A broken sage weapon. This is not bad. I can probably sell it for about 1,000,000 top-tier soulstones. Chu Kuangren said as he held a broken armor in his hand. He had just taken that armor from a skeleton. That skeleton had been dead for many years, but its bones were still extremely tough and had a metallic luster. It was obvious that it was extraordinary when it was alive. It was at least an Honorable Supreme's cultivation level. Even an Honorable Supreme died here. It was obvious that the ancient battlefield had gone through many cruel battles over the years. What about the inner zone, let alone the core area? Chu Kuangren put the broken armor into his yin and yang ring and was about to leave. However, a surge of violent Daoist rhymes suddenly erupted and attacked him from afar. Chu Kuangren frowned. Before he could do anything, Lan Yu had already dispersed the Daoist rhyme. She looked coldly into the void not far away. Come out. A ripple appeared in the void. A man in black leather armor with a knife scar on his face looked at Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu and chuckled. Not bad. Killing and robbing? Chu Kuangren revealed a look of interest. It was not uncommon for people to rob others of their treasures in the cultivation world, but it was Chu Kuangren's first time encountering such an incident. Kid, hand over the damaged saint artifact in your hand and I can consider sparing your life. Otherwise, what would the consequences be? Without waiting for the scar-faced man to finish, Chu Kuangren spoke first. Do you want me to die without a complete corpse, or do you want me to live a life worse than death? Scarface raised an eyebrow. Looking at the calm Chu Kuangren, he could not help but feel a little nervous. This kid seemed to be a little strange. He glanced at Lan Yu. The young lady had easily shattered his attack just now, so her strength should not be underestimated. There was also Chu Kuangren, whose strength was still unknown. If they really fought, he probably wouldn't be able to get away with it. After thinking carefully and weighing the pros and cons, Scarface snorted coldly and actually didn't say a word before turning around and flashing towards the distance. Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu were stunned. Leaving just like that? What's going on? He's leaving just like that? Chu Kuangren was puzzled. This didn't seem to be what he had expected. Lan Yu also shook his head. I don't know. Forget it, let's ignore him. Let's go. Scarface ran all the way and arrived at a team. There were quite a number of people in this team, and each of them had a fierce aura about them. Obviously, they were not simple characters. If there were people from Sun's Oil City here, they would definitely recognize them. This team was one of the most elite teams in Sun's Oil City, and its captain was a top-notch sword cultivator ranked 10th in the 100-sword spectrum. This team was called the Yun Xiao Battle Team. 7th bro, what happened to you? Seeing Scarface rushing back in a hurry, a spear-wielding cultivator asked. Scarface said, 4th brother, call a few good men and follow me to find 2 people. They have a damaged saint artifact. Damaged saint artifact? 4th brother's eyes lit up. A damaged saint artifact, that was a good thing. How strong are these 2 people? I don't know. Scarface shook his head. 4th brother almost vomited blood when he heard that. He looked at Scarface with a, "Are you kidding me?" expression. If you don't know how strong they are, why did you come back? Scarface continued, although we haven't officially fought, I feel that these 2 people are very strong. I'm no match for them alone, so I came back to find you guys, hoping that we can go and snatch the item together. 4th brother pondered when he heard Scarface's words. They had been in the ancient battlefield for many years, living on the edge of a knife's edge. They had long developed a keen sense for danger. Since Scarface said so, it was very likely that these 2 people were not to be trifled with. However, a damaged saint artifact was indeed very tempting. 7th brother, you're back. Let's continue. At that moment, the leader of the Yun Xiao battle team, the 9th-ranked sword cultivator in the 100-sword spectrum, Li Xiaoyan, walked over and said. Scarface and 4th brother looked at each other when they heard his words. They told him about the damaged saint artifact. Li Yunxiao frowned and said, Forget it, it's just a damaged saint artifact. Let's complete the client's request first. He glanced at a young man behind him. The young man was sitting on a rock with his eyes closed. Although he did not look powerful, everyone looked at him with fear. Even Li Yunxiao was very afraid of him. This was because he was one of the top sky prides in the world, the young emperor of the Shang clan from the Scarlet Phoenix domain. Shanghan. Shanghan slowly opened his eyes and said to Li Yunxiao and the others who were not far away, Can we continue our journey now? Of course. Li Yunxiao nodded and said, But we've been searching for 7 days. Young emperor, are you sure this is the direction? I can't be wrong. Shanghan took out an ancient bronze sword. I can clearly feel that the resonance between the Lu clan's ancient sword and the ancient city of the Lu kingdom is getting stronger and stronger. If we continue in this direction, we'll definitely find the ancient city. Hearing this, everyone's eyes were filled with anticipation. The Lu kingdom was a dynasty that existed tens of thousands of years ago. It was said that its heritage and strength were comparable to the royal Azure dynasty of today. However, Such a kingdom was destroyed in a great war tens of thousands of years ago, and the dynasty's capital was directly buried in the sandstorm. For many years, people had been searching for the ancient city of the Lu Kingdom, hoping to find the rumored treasure that was even more terrifying than the sage orthodoxies. It was just that no one had been able to do it. However, this time they might succeed. Thinking of this, even an honorable supreme like Li Yunxiao felt extremely excited, let alone the other people in the battle team. If I can get my hands on the Lu Kingdom's treasure, then I won't have to worry about anything for the rest of my life. Then I'll leave this place. Tisk tsk, the Lu Kingdom's treasure. Everything else aside, there should be plenty of supreme weapons, supreme pills, and other resources. No one has been able to find it for so many years, but in the end, it was still found by us, the Yunxiao battle team. Shang Han glanced at the people in the battle team and curled his lips. These people were just tools for him to find the treasure. They still wanted to share the treasure with him? What a joke. As long as I get my hands on that thing in the Lu Kingdom, who among the younger generation can stand shoulder to shoulder with me? Even if it's Chu Kuangren, I can still fight him. Chapter 233. At the thought of Chu Kuangren, a cold light flashed across Shang Han's eyes. 4 years ago, when he first came to the Azure Dragon domain, he wanted to use Princess Linglong's mysterious Yin body to break through to the Battle Monarch realm. However, they did not expect Chu Kuangren to be one step ahead of them. After that, he was defeated by Chu Kuangren in front of everyone in the Royal Azure Palace. That incident had always been a knot in his heart, and it had never been resolved until today. As the era of great battles began, Shang Han did not dare to slack off for the past 4 years. He had been cultivating diligently, seizing the emperor's essence, protecting his position as the young emperor, comprehending the emperor's essence, and improving his cultivation by leaps and bounds. Coupled with some other opportunities, his strength was definitely among the best among the young emperors. However, he was not happy at all. This was because Chu Kuangren, whom he regarded as his mortal enemy, had achieved far more in the past 4 years than he and the world could ever have imagined. Killing 100,000 demonic cultivators, sparring with a sage, gaining the recognition of the godly phoenix as its master, becoming the Black Heaven sect leader, killing a sage, any one of these items would be enough to defeat a so-called young emperor like him. The little bit of success he'd obtained was simply like the light of a firefly in front of the bright moon, insignificant. Chu Kuangren, just you wait. When I get my hands on that item from the Lu Kingdom, I'll definitely defeat you once and for all. But Chu Kuangren sneezed. Young master, it can't be, you've caught a cold? Lan Yu asked out of concern. Maybe it's one of my enemies cursing me behind my back. Chu Kuangren said nonchalantly. Let's continue. I can sense that there's a huge pile of treasures about 500 kilometers away from here. Chu Kuangren said in amazement. Although there were many treasures and opportunities in the ancient battlefield, it was rare to see so many treasures piled up in one place. Could it be that he had stumbled upon a treasure? Very soon he and Lan Yu arrived at the place where the treasures were piled up. However, in front of them was a sand dune. Chu Kuangren scanned the area with his spiritual thoughts. But he still couldn't find anything. However, Chu Kuangren's treasure locating skills' sensitive response to treasures told him that the pile of treasures was right here on this sand dune. Could there be some kind of barrier? Chu Kuangren muttered. This was a blind spot in his knowledge. He knew nothing about spirit formations and the like. He couldn't possibly draw the lottery right now and become a Grandmaster Formation Master, right? Besides, he had already used up all the lucky draw chances for today. A treasure mountain is right in front of me. Do you want me to return empty-handed? No way, no way, no way, right? At this moment, ripples suddenly appeared in the void of space. A majestic ancient city suddenly appeared in front of Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu like a mirage. What is this? Lan Yu was startled. Lan Yu, we might have really dug up a treasure this time. Chu Kuangren laughed out loud. Let's go. He quickly brought Lan Yu and the other two towards the ancient city. When Chu Kuangren arrived at the ancient city gate, He saw the tattered name of the city hanging high above. Lu Cheng, he looked pensive. I have some impression of it. It seems to be the capital of a country called the Lu Kingdom a long time ago. Chu Kuangren had read all sorts of books and biographies. Among them, there were some records about the Lu Kingdom. Rumor has it that the ancient city of the Lu Kingdom was mysteriously destroyed after a great war. Countless people have been searching for this ancient city for many years, but I didn't expect to find it here today. Chu Kuangren laughed. Sure enough, the heavenly Tao would favor a handsome person like him. The two entered the ancient city. Inside the ancient city, there were signs of destruction everywhere. Skeletons were scattered on the ground, turning into dust and dissipating at the slightest touch. Even the skeletons of honorables could not withstand the erosion of time. What was the cause of that great war that destroyed an entire country? Could it be the sage war that the eternal sage king mentioned? Lan Yu was puzzled. I don't think so. The sage war that the eternal sage king mentioned happened 50,000 years ago, and the Lu Kingdom's destruction happened more than 30,000 years ago. The timing doesn't match up. There must be another reason. Chu Kuangren shook his head. However, these were not the reasons that Chu Kuangren wanted to explore. What he wanted the most at the moment was the Lu Kingdom's treasures. 30 miles ahead, there are sage weapons, supreme weapons, according to the feedback from the treasure locating skill. Chu Kuangren soon arrived at the Lu Kingdom's palace. The palace was huge. Although it was dilapidated, its former glory could still be vaguely seen. It was not any worse than the royal Azure dynasty's palace. He arrived at the palace's treasury. He pushed open the door. An aura that had been sealed for a long time blew over. It was full of dust. Chu Kuangren waved his sleeves and a gust of wind swept away the dust around. Suddenly, after tens of thousands of years, countless treasures once again bloomed with waves of treasure light, illuminating the surroundings. Treasured swords, armors, medicinal pills, peerless materials, spiritual marrows, and even jade scrolls that recorded various cultivation techniques, countless treasures were displayed in front of Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu. So many. Lan Yu's mouth was slightly agape. She could not help but be shocked when she saw the entire treasury in front of her. Lan Yu, let's do it. Chu Kuangren smiled. The two walked into the treasury and began to collect the treasures into their yin and yang rings. There were just too many treasures here. It took the two of them more than an hour to finish collecting. Moreover, that was only the collection. They had not sorted them out yet. Otherwise, they would have taken much more time. Young master, our harvest this time is just too great. I have 6 or 7 sacred artifacts here. There are even more sovereign artifacts. Not to mention, there are also some other rare treasures. Lan Yu's eyes lit up as she said, not bad. With this batch of treasures, the Black Heaven sect's heritage can be doubled again. Chu Kuangren was also satisfied. With so many treasures, the Lu Kingdom must have been very powerful in the past. Unfortunately, it was destroyed in the end, Lan Yu lamented. There was nothing in this world that lasted forever. Even a powerful kingdom like the Lu Kingdom could not escape the fate of extinction. Master, do you think there will be others who will enter the ancient Lu Kingdom in the future besides us? Lan Yu suddenly thought curiously. I don't know. Even if there is, it should be many years later, Chu Kuangren said. Then, as if he thought of something, a playful smile appeared on his face as he came to a pillar in the treasury. He condensed his sword fingers and beams of sword chi shot out. He was actually carving words on the pillar. Chu Kuangren was here. Chu Kuangren looked at the 7 big words on the pillar with satisfaction. Beside him, Lan Yu shook her head and smiled. Master can be so frivolous at times. Let's go. There's still one more thing in this palace. Chu Kuangren smirked. What is it? Boundary Emperor weapon. Lan Yu could not help but be surprised when she heard that. There's another Boundary Emperor weapon in this palace. That's right. Through my treasure locating skill, there is indeed a Boundary Emperor weapon in this palace. Let's go. Chu Kuangren was quite excited. One must know that a quasi-emperor weapon was far too valuable. Even the entire treasury would barely be able to compare to it. Chapter 234. Chu Kuangren sensed that the Boundary Emperor weapon was in the palace's main hall. However, as soon as they entered the main hall, both of them felt that something was amiss. There was an extremely terrifying ferocious qi in the air. What a terrifying ferocious qi! Lan Yu could not help but be surprised. Then, both of them saw the skeleton wearing a golden royal robe standing on top of the palace. The surface of the skeleton's body was filled with rays of golden light. Countless runes surrounded it and were connected to the halberd in his hand. This skeleton had an indescribable sense of grandeur. Apart from that, the palace was also engraved with countless runes. The terrifying ferocious qi in the palace seemed to be trapped here because of these runes, unable to spread to other places. It seems that this person is the ruler of the Lu Kingdom. But why would he have these runes around him? Lan Yu said in surprise. As if sensing that someone had entered, the corpse of the Lu Kingdom's ruler emitted a ray of golden light and transformed into a figure. It was a stalwart man dressed in a royal robe. His face was extremely dignified, and it looked like the Lu Kingdom's ruler when he was alive. Newcomer. I am the ruler of the Lu Kingdom, the stalwart man said. Lan Yu put on a defensive stance. Chu Kuangren smiled. It's just an image. I'm sure you've noticed the abnormality in this palace. The culprit of all this is the Tranquil Kingdom, a vassal kingdom of the Lu Kingdom. The ruler of the Tranquil Kingdom rebelled. In order to overthrow the Lu Kingdom, he did not hesitate to enter the forbidden area and steal the source of ferocious qi. He sacrificed millions of soldiers in the kingdom to create an invincible tormented army. However, the tormented army's resentment was too strong and could not be controlled by the ruler of the Tranquil Kingdom. Instead, the Tranquil Kingdom suffered and was destroyed. Following that, the tormented army invaded the Lu Kingdom. Within a day, the 13 cities of the Lu Kingdom were breached, and the tormented army headed straight for the capital. I know that the Lu Kingdom has fallen. In order to prevent the tormented army from wreaking havoc, I used the Boundary Emperor weapon in my hand, the Heaven's Halberd, as a base and used myself as bait to set up the Spirit Sealing Formation to seal the tormented army under the palace. Then I activated the Lu Kingdom's formation and hid in the void. Newcomer, for the sake of the world and your own safety, do not use the Heaven's Halberd. Leave quickly. Remember. After explaining what had happened, the Lord of the Lu Kingdom disappeared. This was just a video left behind by the Lord of Lu Kingdom. It will only be triggered when someone enters the palace. I see. After listening to Lu Guo's past, the two of them had their doubts answered. So this was how the Lu Kingdom disappeared. The Forbidden Area, the source of the ominous aura. It should be the core area of the ancient battlefield, which is also the place where the Holy War took place. Back then, the Lu Kingdom had yet to be shrouded in inauspicious aura. The In Kingdom wanted to overthrow the rule of the Lu Kingdom, so they went to the Forbidden Land to retrieve the so-called source of inauspicious aura. They used some kind of method to sacrifice millions of soldiers and transform them into tormented souls. However, they didn't expect that these millions of tormented souls would go out of control and lead to the destruction of the In Kingdom and the Lu Kingdom. Now, the tormented souls are right under our feet. The two of them looked at the ground. Countless runes were engraved on it, flowing with mysterious Daoist rhymes that connected with the long halberd in the hands of the Lu Kingdom's lord. Young master, what should we do now? Let's go. Chu Kuangren said, 1,000,000 tormented souls are no small matter. Moreover, they've been suppressed for so long, so one can only imagine how strong their resentment is. Once it erupts, Sun's Oil City and the people nearby will suffer. Although it was a pity to give up on a Boundary Emperor weapon, it was a worthwhile trip to obtain the entire Lu Kingdom's treasure vault. Besides, he already had an Emperor weapon, the Sacred Emerald Sword Case, and with the potential of the Descendant Self Sword, it was only a matter of time before it grew into an Emperor weapon. There was no need to bring disaster to countless people just for a Boundary Emperor weapon. The two of them left the Lu Kingdom's ancient city. When they came out, they could no longer see the ancient city. It seems that the enchanted boundary of the Lu Kingdom has existed for too long, so it would occasionally fail, revealing the Lu Kingdom. We just happened to bump into it just now. Chu Kuangren smiled as he looked at the sand dune in front of him. Looks like we're in luck. Lan Yu found it a little unbelievable that they could encounter such a low probability. Their luck was more than just in luck. Well, it can't be helped since I have a halo. The two of them turned around and left the sand dune. Although he had obtained the Lu Kingdom's treasures, Chu Kuangren was still extremely curious about the ancient battlefield's core area. He still wanted to take a look. Not long after they left, a group of people arrived near the ancient city of the Lu Kingdom. These people were the Cloud Sky Troop and Shang Han, who had come to search for the Lu Kingdom's treasures. The resonance of the ancient Lu sword has reached its peak. It looks like the ancient Lu Kingdom is here, Shang Han said as he held the slightly trembling ancient Lu sword in his hand. He looked around. There is an ancient city here? What kind of joke is this? This place is completely empty. How can there be an ancient city? Could there be a mistake? Exactly. Shang Han said faintly, rumor has it that Lu City has a space formation that can form a barrier and hide in the void. Although we can't see it, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Then how do we find him? Every time the barrier is formed, only the Lu family's ancient sword, which is owned by the royal family of the Lu Kingdom, can open it. Get out of the way. Shang Han tossed the ancient bronze sword in his hand into the air and injected spiritual power into it. The ancient sword shone brightly, causing ripples to appear in the void. It works. Great. Everyone was overjoyed. Buzz. At that moment, a saber gleam with a terrifying murderous aura swept over from not far away. Li Xiaoyun's expression changed slightly, and he quickly blocked it. He slashed out with his sword, and the sword gleam and the saber gleam collided. There was a loud explosion, and the void trembled. Not far away, a tormented spirit holding a long saber suddenly appeared in front of everyone, and a surging murderous aura shot into the sky. Li Xiaoyun's expression instantly turned serious. That's one of the inner zone's 10 furies, the saber wielder. The expressions of the rest of the Yun Shao battle squad changed drastically. One of the 10 furies, the saber wielder. This is an honorable supreme level tormented spirit. How unlucky we are to encounter it at this time. Quick, prepare for battle. Just as everyone was preparing to deal with the saber wielder, a series of roars suddenly came from all directions. Tormented spirits of all shapes and sizes surged from all directions, and a violent murderous aura filled the entire area. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. So many tormented spirits. Damn it. Shang Han's expression turned gloomy as well. He said to Li Xiaoyun, I still need some time to open the barrier. You guys must hold on for me. Otherwise, everything will be in vain. Got it. Li Xiaoyun gritted his teeth and said, Kill. A fierce battle broke out. Li Xiaoyun was ranked 10th in the 100-sword spectrum. He was extremely powerful and was an honorable supreme. He personally blocked the saber wielder. The rest of the tormented spirits were left to the others. The battle was incomparably fierce, and there were casualties in the Yun Shao battle squad as soon as they clashed. All sorts of Daoist rhymes flashed in the void. Spiritual power and murderous aura intertwined and collided with each other. The commotion was so huge that it shook the heavens and the earth. While the rest of the team was entangled with the tormented spirits, Shang Han activated the Lu clan's ancient sword and attacked the barrier. Finally, a crack appeared. The magnificent ancient Lu kingdom finally appeared in front of everyone. Let's go. Chapter 235. Let's go. Let's go into the ancient city. Shang Han was the first to rush into the ancient city barrier. The rest of the team followed closely behind. After Li Xiaoyun and the others rushed into the barrier, the crack in the barrier slowly disappeared. The tormented souls lingered in place for a while before leaving. Inside the ancient city barrier, Li Xiaoyun and the others breathed a sigh of relief. I didn't expect to encounter the saber wielder. It was too thrilling. Indeed. Let's count the casualties. Everyone began to count the casualties and found that the losses in this battle were higher than expected. More than half of the Yunxiao battle team was dead or injured. This made Li Xiaoyun's expression very ugly. Damn it. The Lu Kingdom's treasures are right in front of us. Their deaths are worth it, Shang Han said faintly. As soon as he said this, everyone's eyes lit up as they looked at the ancient city in front of them. They gulped and their eyes revealed their desire. The Lu Kingdom's treasures. The Lu Kingdom's treasures that countless people dreamed of were right in front of them. As long as they could get the treasures, any sacrifice would be worth it. With this thought in mind, everyone began to search the ancient city. Such a huge Lu Kingdom is gone just like that. I wonder why, one of the team members lamented. Who knows? Let's look for the treasures first. It should be in the palace. Everyone went straight to the palace. Soon, they saw the palace's treasure vault and rushed in excitedly. Then they were all stunned. Where's the treasure? Why is there nothing? The Lu Kingdom's treasures. Where did the Lu Kingdom's treasures go? Everyone could not accept it. They had gone through so many hardships to get here and sacrificed so many people just for the Lu Kingdom's treasures. Now, however, the treasures were gone. Those with slightly weaker Daoist hearts were about to vomit blood. This can't be. The Lu Kingdom's heritage is stronger than the likes of the royal Azure dynasty. How could there be nothing? Shang Han was also dumbfounded. Hold on, look, what's that? Suddenly, someone exclaimed as he looked at a pillar. Everyone looked over and saw a line of words. Before they could see it clearly, they felt an extremely cold sword-based Daoist rhyme rushing toward them. Li Xiaoyun was a swordsman. Moreover, he was a great swordsman ranked 10th in the 100-sword spectrum. However, even he was shocked when he felt the sword-based Daoist rhyme. His expression turned serious. What a terrifying sword Daoist rhyme. The person who left these words is definitely a terrifying sword cultivator. Li Xiaoyun stared at it and read out the words on it. Chu Kuangren was here. All of a sudden, everyone became quiet. The moment Chu Kuangren's name came out, it was as if it had a magical power that shocked everyone, causing their expressions to change. Chu Kuangren, how can it be him? It's actually him who obtained the Lu Kingdom's treasure. Damn it, how did he get in? After finding out who had obtained the Lu Kingdom's treasures, not only did everyone not have the thought of snatching the treasures back, but they also felt even more hopeless. It was all because the person who obtained the treasure was called Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren, ranked first in the 100-sword spectrum. No wonder he has such a sword-based Daoist rhyme. He truly lives up to his name, Li Xiaoyun murmured. Damn it, damn it. Beside him, Shang Han's face was livid. The spiritual power in his body boiled uncontrollably and bombarded the surrounding walls. He was so angry that he was about to go crazy. He had gone through many books to find the Lu clan's ancient sword, and he had gone through many hardships to arrive at the Lu Kingdom. He did not expect Chu Kuangren to beat him to it. It's you again, it's you again. Why are you one step ahead of me again? Damn it. Everyone looked at Shang Han, who was venting his anger in a frenzy, and they could not help but feel pity for him. They knew that Shang Han was a young emperor, one of the top sky prides in this world. However, who would dare to call themselves a sky pride in front of Chu Kuangren? All the so-called sky prides were not even worth mentioning in front of him. Captain, what should we do now? A member of the Yunxiao troop said unwillingly. They had gone through many hardships to get here. Were they going to go back empty-handed? Thinking of this, no one would be willing to give up. What else can we do? Do you want to fight Chu Kuangren to the death? Li Xiaoyun said. How would I dare to do that? That troop member quickly shook his head. Fight Chu Kuangren to the death? Stop joking. It was more like courting death. In this world, how many people would dare to fight Chu Kuangren? Even sages would have to think twice before doing so. Sigh, I can't believe that Chu Kuangren would take away this treasure. What a waste of effort. Everyone was extremely dejected and listless. Holding on to their last glimmer of hope, they searched the treasury again to see if they could find anything. For example, whether Chu Kuangren had left anything behind or not. However, they could not even find a single soul stone. Chu Kuangren was too thorough in his looting. Captain, we have a new discovery here. At that moment, Li Xiaoyun received a message from his troop members. Everyone came to the palace hall with hope in their hearts. Here, they saw the countless runes and the Lu Kingdom ruler who was holding the Heaven's Halberd in his hand. When he saw the Heaven's Halberd, Shang Han's expression changed from disbelief to ecstasy. The Heaven's Halberd, it really is the Heaven's Halberd. No way! Are you kidding me? Chu Kuangren left the most valuable treasure behind and didn't take it away. He can't be stupid, right? Shang Han was ecstatic. The Heaven's Halberd was his biggest goal on this trip. Initially, when he saw Chu Kuangren's words, he no longer had any hope of getting the Heaven's Halberd. However, he never expected that Chu Kuangren would not take away the most valuable Boundary Emperor weapon in the Lu Kingdom. Shang Han could not wait to enter the palace hall. At that moment, the Lu Kingdom ruler's body trembled slightly as he shot out a golden light that transformed into his appearance before he was born and began to play a video. Newcomer! I am the Lu Kingdom ruler. The Lu Kingdom ruler began to narrate the past, telling everyone about the millions of tormented souls sealed under the palace and asking them not to take the Heaven's Halberd. Everyone was shocked when they heard that. They did not expect such a dangerous thing to be under their feet. Captain, what should we do? Let's go. This thing is not something we can touch. Li Xiaoyun said calmly. Everyone reluctantly glanced at the Heaven's Halberd. However, at that moment, everyone saw Shang Han ignore the Lu Kingdom ruler's advice and walk towards the Heaven's Halberd with a crazed look on his face. This is a Boundary Emperor weapon, how can I give it up? If Chu Kuangren doesn't dare to take it, I'll take it. Chu Kuangren pretends to be benevolent and cares about the people of the world, but I'll follow my heart and take this Boundary Emperor weapon. I'll let the world know that Chu Kuangren is no match for me, Shang Han. He grabbed the Heaven's Halberd, and the spiritual power within his body erupted as he pulled the Heaven's Halberd out of the Lu Kingdom ruler's hand. Suddenly, the entire palace and even the entire Lu city trembled violently, and cracks began to appear on the ground. It was as if some terrifying existence was about to rush out. Inside the palace, the golden runes began to shatter. This is bad. Let's go. Li Xiaoyun was terrified, and the rest of the battle team members also began to rush out of the palace in a panic. Chapter 236. Shang Han, who had obtained the Heaven's Halberd, immediately flew out of the palace without hesitation. His speed was even faster than Li Xiaoyun and the rest. Li Xiaoyun and the rest cursed loudly behind his back. That damned Shang Han, is he crazy? He doesn't care about our lives and forcefully took the Heaven's Halberd. This guy is too evil. What a bastard. Now that things have come to this, there's no point in talking anymore. Let's run. Everyone ran out of Lu Cheng. When they ran out of the palace, they saw that the entire palace had begun to collapse, revealing a huge crack in the ground. Within the crack, a terrifying, ferocious aura was rumbling. Li Xiaoyun took the time to look back. Then he saw a scene that made his scalp tingle. From the crack in the ground, a black torrent suddenly rose into the sky. It was formed by countless tormented souls. Roars and screams continuously gushed out from this black torrent, and the sinister and twisted faces made one's heart palpitate. Just one glance was enough to make Li Xiaoyun feel an unprecedented impact on his Daoist heart. He could not help but increase his speed of escape. Kill, kill, kill everyone. Woo woo, I'm out, I'm out. Countless tormented souls were roaring and yelling, and there were even some unintelligible whimpers mixed together like the demonic sounds of hell. Boundless ferocious aura and resentment filled the world. The enchanted barrier of Lu Cheng could not withstand this terrifying power and shattered on the spot. Countless tormented souls rushed out of the enchanted barrier. For a moment, the entire inner zone of the ancient battlefield was shaken by this torrent of tormented souls. Countless tormented souls let out uneasy roars. Even these tormented souls who had lived in the ancient battlefield for a long time could not help but be frightened by this tormented army from tens of thousands of years ago. This towering resentment seemed to be tolerated by heaven and earth. Oh my God, what have we released? Li Xiaoyun and the rest who rushed out of the enchanted barrier looked at the sky full of tormented souls and could not help but gulp. Their faces were filled with shock and horror. At that moment, some of the tormented souls noticed them. These tormented souls were wearing armor and holding weapons. They stared at them ferociously and rushed towards them without saying a word. Living people, kill! The tormented souls rushed towards Li Xiaoyun and the rest. That endless resentment was shocking. Li Xiaoyun's team members were all shocked, and their reactions slowed down for a second. In that instant, the consequences were unimaginable. One by one, the tormented souls tore at the members of the battle team and sliced them into pieces. Quick, gather together! Li Xiaoyun yelled. The remaining members quickly gathered around him. Li Xiaoyun took out a bead and crushed it. A mysterious Daoist rhyme filled the air, causing the surrounding sand to rise into the air and form a sand barrier around them, preventing the tormented souls from approaching. After attacking for a while, the tormented army no longer paid them any heed. They looked towards the direction of Sun's Oil City in the distance and quickly rushed towards it. Having been sealed under the palace for tens of thousands of years, the weight of their grievances could be said to be earth-shattering. They needed to vent. Killing and devouring were the best ways for them to vent. Wherever the tormented army went, other tormented existences would be devoured. The heavens and earth were shrouded in a gloomy atmosphere, as if doomsday had arrived. In the direction of Sun's Oil City, there were experts who sensed all this. Not good, the tormented souls are attacking. What? Tormented souls, so many tormented souls, such terrifying grievances. This is not something that humans can handle. My God, with such a large number of tormented souls, it won't be long before the entire Sun's Oil City becomes a living hell. We can't stay here any longer. Run! One by one, the cultivators began to flee Sun's Oil City frantically. Inside the restaurant, it was a scene of panic. Everyone began to pack up and flee to other places. Qian Fugui could not help but laugh bitterly when he saw this. This restaurant is gone. What a loss, what a loss. With the arrival of the tormented army, the entire Sun's Oil City could not be saved, let alone his small restaurant. Boss, hurry up and leave. If the tormented souls come, even I might not be able to protect you. A green figure appeared behind Qian Fugui and said, Got it. Qian Fugui pouted. A few hundred miles away from Sun's Oil City, there was an orthodoxy. It was the Horizon Wing sect, an honorable orthodoxy. Today, the Horizon Wing sect rang the alarm bell that had not rung for many years, announcing that the Horizon Wing sect was about to enter a life and death crisis. Countless disciples' faces turned solemn as they hurriedly gathered together. The Horizon Wing sect's current sect leader was clad in a full set of armor. He said to the countless disciples below, I can sense a terrifying force coming from the ancient battlefield towards this direction. It's an army, a terrifying army made up of tormented souls. Once they break through Sun's Oil City, the tens of millions of civilians under the jurisdiction of the Horizon Wing sect will suffer. I've already sent a request to the Black Heaven sect, but it'll take some time for reinforcements to arrive. I plan to lead some people to fight against the tormented souls first. Everyone, this is destined to be a battle of life and death with heavy casualties. If any of you wish to leave, please leave now. After that, all the disciples began to discuss among themselves. Not long after, more than a dozen people left one after another. However, the rest of them had a determined look on their faces. Most of them were born and raised on this land, so they had feelings for this land. They could not sit back and watch the tormented souls kill without restraint. All right, let's fight against the tormented souls together. Let's go! The Horizon Wing sect leader shouted. Then, streaks of light flew towards the direction of Sun's Oil City. Deep within the ancient battlefield, Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu arrived at the edge of the core area. He could clearly feel that the ferocious qi contained within the core area far surpassed that of the inner zone. This was the true forbidden area. Master, do we still have to go forward? Lan Yu asked curiously. The ferocious qi in the core area was so strong that even a young emperor like her felt threatened. Once they went deeper, they would most likely die. However, if Chu Kuangren wanted to go, she would follow him. Chu Kuangren looked at the core area from afar and fell into deep thought. With his powerful strength and many trump cards, it was not impossible for him to explore the core area. However, this was one of the 10 great forbidden areas, and he was bringing Lan Yu with him. If anything happened, he would regret it. Suddenly, Chu Kuangren looked surprised. In his field of vision, he saw a white figure appear in the core area from afar. It was a skinny figure wearing a white robe, holding a black spear in his hand, and his face was covered with a mask. However, that white figure only stayed in his field of vision for a moment before it disappeared. Besides him, not even Lan Yu who was beside him could be seen. Is that the white robe general? Chu Kuangren was surprised. He did not expect to meet one of the 7 great ghost stories here. Just as he saw the white robe general, Chu Kuangren suddenly felt an extremely terrifying ferocious qi coming from behind him. He turned around and saw a black torrent rising into the sky from the direction of Lu City before it headed towards Sunsoil City. Could that be the tormented army of the Tranquil Kingdom? Chu Kuangren's pupils shrunk. He did not expect the tormented army to be released so soon after he left. Chapter 237. Master. Lan Yu looked at the tormented army with a solemn expression. Let's go. Let's go and have a look. Chu Kuangren frowned and then dashed towards the direction of the ancient Lu Kingdom. At this time, the enchanted boundary of the Lu Kingdom had been destroyed by the endless tormented army, exposing the huge ancient city to the sunlight. Outside the city, a sand ball that was formed from countless grains of sand suddenly trembled. Then, the sand fell and the sand ball dissipated. Li Xiaoyun and the others looked around and could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. The tormented army is finally gone. Phew, we just survived a disaster. It's too terrifying. This is too terrifying. The tormented army's resentment is so strong that I've never seen anything like it in my long time in the ancient battlefield. I'm afraid Sunsoil City is going to be gone. Everyone said with lingering fear. D*Emin, it's all that D*Emin Shanghan's fault. How could he take that boundary emperor weapon and destroy the seal? Scarface cursed. At the mention of that, the others were also furious. This time, they had really suffered a huge loss. After losing so many people, they finally found the ancient Lu Kingdom, but they did not even see a single piece of the treasure. They even released the tormented army that had been sealed for tens of thousands of years. Moreover, the culprit was Shang Han, the young emperor of the Shang clan. With their strength and background, they could not do anything to him. They could only grit their teeth and bear with it. Let's go. We can't stay here any longer, Li Xiaoyun said. He was about to leave with the others. At that moment, 2 figures suddenly appeared in front of them. It's them. Scarface saw the 2 people walking towards them and said, "These 2 are the ones that I told you about. They're the ones with the broken sage weapon." At that, a cold glint flashed in his eyes. Since we haven't gotten the Lu Kingdom's treasure, we can't let go of the broken sage weapon. If it was just one person, he would have considered attacking. However, since Li Xiaoyun and the others were here, he no longer had any scruples. Boom! Scarface stomped on the ground and his whole body shot out like a cannonball, charging towards Chu Kuangren and Li Xiaoyun. Brat, hand over your life. Scarface unleashed a slash with his Daoist rhyme locking onto Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren looked up and gently raised his hand. A surge of Daoist rhyme that was many times more majestic than Scarface's instantly erupted, turning into a divine mountain that smashed onto the other party's body. With a bang, Scarface was beaten into a bloody mist on the spot. In the battle team, the other people who still wanted to attack were stunned. What was going on? What just happened? Asterisk hiss. Asterisk when everyone regained their senses, they couldn't help but gasp. Among them, Scarface's strength could be said to be at the peak. Although he wasn't a supreme being, he wasn't far from it. However, It had been blown up with a single slap. The newcomer was actually this powerful. Alert! Li Xiaoyun yelled. Everyone took out their weapons. They were about to have a mental breakdown. How did they encounter so many things in just one day? First, he was ambushed by the tormented sword fiends and the other tormented souls. After he finally found the ancient Lu kingdom, he lost the treasure and narrowly escaped death under the tormented army. Now, he had encountered another existence that seemed extremely difficult to deal with. Oh my God! Did you not look at the almanac when you went out today? Li Xiaoyun could not help but gulp as he looked at Chu Kuangren, who was slowly approaching him. His heart was beating extremely fast in his chest. Danger. Extremely dangerous. The person in front of him was definitely the greatest enemy he had ever met in his life. It seems that the person on the other side isn't very friendly. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Initially, he just wanted to ask what had happened here, but he did not expect that Scarface would attack him without saying a word. Hence, he had no choice but to slap him to death. However, it seemed like it would be a little difficult to ask a normal question now. I guess I'll have to suppress him a little before I ask. Chu Kuangren pressed his hand on the Descendant Self-sword at his waist. The blade gently trembled. Then, an indescribably terrifying sword-based Daoist rhyme erupted from Chu Kuangren's body and swept out in an earth-shattering manner. When this sword-based Daoist rhyme landed on the Yun Xiao battle team, their faces instantly turned pale and their eyes were filled with extreme fear. Apart from Li Xiaoyun, everyone else felt as if 100,000 mountains had been placed on their backs as they were all pressed to the ground. Even Li Xiaoyun's legs turned to jelly, and his clothes were drenched in cold sweat in just a few breaths. This Daoist rhyme. You're Chu Kuangren, Li Xiaoyun said with a trembling voice. This Daoist rhyme was exactly the same as the words left in the Lu Kingdom's treasury. There was no doubt that the person in front of them was the one who left those words in the treasury. That was the world-renowned Chu Kuangren. Oh, I see that you've recognized me. Chu Kuangren withdrew the spiritual light from his face and revealed a peerless face, no longer hiding himself. Seeing his face, Li Xiaoyun and the others no longer had any doubts. Rumor had it that Chu Kuangren's appearance was unparalleled. Was the person in front of them not unparalleled? No wonder he could kill Seventh Brother with a single slap. It turns out that he's Chu Kuangren. How did we provoke such an existence? Wait a minute, Chu Kuangren is here, and his words are still in the treasury. Don't tell me that the treasury was opened in just a few days? F***ck me, how bad is our luck then? Everyone lay on the ground and began to discuss. Li Xiaoyun forced himself not to kneel, but that alone had exhausted all of his strength, let alone resisting. I can't believe the gap between me and him is so huge. Li Xiaoyun was an honorable supreme, ranked 10th in the 100-sword spectrum. He believed that he could even fight Murong Feng, who was ranked 2nd. However, before Chu Kuangren, who was ranked 1st in the 100-sword spectrum, he found it hard to even draw his sword. Tell me what happened here. Chu Kuangren walked to Li Xiaoyun and said. Li Xiaoyun did not dare to hide anything from Chu Kuangren. He told Chu Kuangren about their search for the ancient city and how Shanghan released the tormented souls. Shanghan? That name sounds familiar. Chu Kuangren pondered, wondering where he had heard it before. Master, he's the Shang clan's young emperor. 4 years ago, you defeated him in the Royal Azure Dynasty Palace, Lan Yu reminded. Upon hearing that, Chu Kuangren finally understood. Oh, it's him. If you didn't mention it, I wouldn't have remembered. I've fought this person before. He's so weak that I don't even remember him. Chu Kuangren shook his head and sighed. Beside him, Li Xiaoyun and the others had a complicated look on their faces. Was that Shanghan weak? Not at all. As a young emperor, he was extremely powerful. His combat strength was even stronger than some of the honorables. However, in Chu Kuangren's eyes, he was not even worth remembering. If Shanghan knew about this, who knew what he would think? The person that Shanghan viewed as his mortal enemy did not even remember him. Was this how a real boss should be? Sun's Oil City. Looks like we'll have to leave the exploration of the core area for another time, Chu Kuangren murmured as he looked into the distance. In a flash, he brought Lan Yu with him and headed towards Sunsoil City. As soon as he left, the sword-based Daoist rhyme that enveloped everyone slowly dissipated. Everyone felt their bodies relax as if they had been given a new life. They lay on the ground, panting. Is that Chu Kuangren? He's so terrifying. Yeah, we can't fight back against him. Powerful, terrifying. Chapter 238. Inside Sunsoil City. Countless adventurers had abandoned the city and fled. From afar, they could see the black torrent approaching them. It was a terrifying army made up of countless tormented souls. The soaring, murderous aura and resentment were daunting. Wherever the army passed, the tormented souls were easily torn apart, destroyed, and devoured. No one could stop them. From afar, the crowd could even see an honorable adventurer being dragged into the tormented army. Within a few breaths, he was torn into pieces. It was a gruesome sight. The tormented army seemed to have only one rule: kill anyone on sight. This is too terrifying. I'm afraid Sunsoil City is going to be gone today. Everyone, including the few famous top-notch troops in Sunsoil City, had no choice but to flee in the face of the tormented army. However, among the fleeing crowd, a group of defiant ones appeared. While everyone was busy fleeing Sunsoil City, these people were heading straight for Sunsoil City from afar. Every single one of them had a determined look on their faces. These people are from the Horizon Wing sect. What are they doing? What are they doing in Sunsoil City? Everyone was puzzled. At that moment, someone lamented, after Sunsoil City is the territory under the jurisdiction of the Horizon Wing sect. There are tens of millions of civilians living there. Once Sunsoil City is gone, you can imagine what will happen to the civilians. They're here to defend against the tormented souls. Hearing this, some people had a look of respect in their eyes. However, there were also those who scoffed. These people think they can defend against the tormented army? They must be tired of living. That's right, this army is too terrifying. Forget about one Horizon Wing sect, even 10 Horizon Wing sects wouldn't be able to stop it. They'll just be sending themselves to their deaths if they go. In Sunsoil City. As soon as Leng Changkong and the others returned to Sunsoil City, they saw the majestic and resentful tormented army. Leng Changkong immediately thought of the countless civilians under the jurisdiction of the Horizon Wing sect. He knew that his sect would not leave them be. As expected, not long after, he received a message from the Horizon Wing sect. Old Zhang, bring Wang Chao and the others away. Leng Changkong said to Old Zhang of the Horizon Wing squad. Other than the people from the Horizon Wing sect, there were also a few people who were not from the Horizon Wing sect. There was no reason for them to stay and fight the tormented army. Captain, what are you talking about? I don't know about the others, but I, Old Zhang, am not leaving. We agreed to live and die together, Old Zhang said. Yes, we're not leaving either. Aren't they just tormented souls? I've seen too many of them. The members of the Horizon Feather Battle team had been through thick and thin together for many years. None of them wanted to leave. At this point, Leng Changkong suddenly felt that his greatest achievement in this life was not becoming a Daoist, but having this group of brothers. At this moment, rays of light flew over the heads of Leng Changkong and the others. The people from the Horizon Wing sect had arrived. Let's go. Leng Changkong took a deep breath, his eyes filled with determination. He led the crowd toward the city wall of Tuyang City. In the city, among the fleeing crowd, there was a young monk dressed in cloth clothes and shoes. He held a Buddhist staff in his hand and was also walking towards the city walls. Everyone was surprised to see him. This monk doesn't want his life anymore. He actually dares to go to the city gates. Isn't he afraid of the tormented souls? Who cares? Let's just run. The young monk listened to the people around him with a calm expression. He looked at the incoming tormented souls from afar and murmured, Amitabha, if I don't go to hell, who will? At this thought, he walked towards the city gates without hesitation. At this moment, he saw the Horizon Wing sect cultivators flying towards the city walls to fend off the tormented souls. He smiled. My path is not lonely, my path is not lonely. On the city walls of Tuyang City, the Horizon Wing sect master and a group of elders were looking at the tormented army from afar with grave expressions. The tormented army's terror was beyond their imagination. Even from afar, they could still feel the immense pressure. That terrifying resentment caused goosebumps to rise all over their bodies. At this time, Leng Changkong and the others had also arrived. Greetings, sect master, elders. This is wartime. There's no need for formalities. Leng Changkong noticed a young monk beside the Horizon Wing sect master and could not help but be curious. This master is? My name is Wu Yi. The young monk, Wu Yi, smiled faintly. Upon hearing this, Leng Changkong and the others could not help but be shocked. Wu Yi, the Thunder Temple's Arhat, Wu Yi, the outstanding figure of the younger generation of Buddhism and also one of the 38 young emperors, Wu Yi. He's here too. Wu Yi was a well-known name among the younger generation. The titles of Arhat and Young Emperor were enough to resound throughout the world. Master Wu Yi came to the ancient battlefield to train. Now that we've encountered the tormented army, Master Wu Yi is compassionate and has come to help. The Horizon Wing sect master said. I see. Leng Changkong's expression turned solemn as he bowed to Wu Yi. Then, the group began to discuss how to deal with the tormented army. The tormented army was less than 100 miles away from Tuyang City. With the speed of the tormented army, they would arrive in no time at all. There was not much time left for the group. I've observed them. The tormented army's individual strength is not strong, but they're very concentrated, just like a military formation. They've gathered all the tormented army's strength together. That's the trickiest part. That's right. If we can break this formation, the tormented army will disperse. Then, it'll be much easier to deal with them. How do we break this formation? Since it's a military formation, there must be a general leading it. As long as we eliminate the general among the tormented army, this formation can be broken. But there are so many tormented army, how do we find the general? At this point, the group fell into another dilemma. Arhat Wu Yi smiled faintly. Leave it to me. The group looked at him. The Horizon Wing sect master's heart skipped a beat. Rumor has it that the Thunder Temple has a technique called the Divine Eye. When cultivated to the extreme, one can observe the 3 realms and 6 paths. Master Wu Yi, are you thinking of using the Divine Eye to find the tormented army general? I can give it a try. Wu Yi nodded slightly. Then, a golden light flashed in his eyes. With the Divine Eye activated, the tormented army in the distance immediately came into view. The majestic resentment surged towards him, causing his body to tremble. His divine eye was almost blinded. With a solemn expression, he began to search among the tormented army. Finally, he locked onto a tormented army. The tormented army was clad in a set of black armor, and the resentment on its body was extremely dense. Countless tormented army hovered around it as if they were protecting it. Looks like this is the tormented army's leader. Arhat Wu Yi explained his discovery to the Horizon Wing sect master and the others. Next, we'll have to kill this tormented army general. Leave it to me. The Horizon Wing sect master smiled faintly. He took out a golden longbow that exuded an extraordinary Daoist rhyme. Then, an arrow appeared in his hand. He knocked the arrow and, under Wu Ye's guidance, locked onto the tormented army general's position. The Horizon Wing sect master pulled the golden longbow to its fullest extent and continuously channeled spiritual energy into the longbow. Then, with a whoosh, the arrow shot through the air and turned into a golden ray of light that flew towards the tormented army general. Chapter 239. The arrow pierced through the air like a ray of light. The arrow pierced through the tormented army and headed straight for the tormented general. The tormented army along the way was pierced through and shattered into pieces. In the blink of an eye, the arrow had traveled hundreds of miles and arrived in front of the tormented general. Everyone's eyes lit up. We did it! But at this moment, the general suddenly raised his right hand and grabbed the arrow. A boundless and terrifying killing intent erupted. The arrow trembled violently before it was crushed into pieces. This scene caused the Horizon Wing Sect Master's pupils to shrink. How is this possible? He was dumbfounded. Although the golden bow in his hand was not a sacred weapon, it was still a top-notch supreme weapon. Coupled with his supreme honorable cultivation base, even a supreme honorable would find it difficult to defend against it. Yet, the tormented general had crushed it with brute force. What kind of strength was that? A top-tier honorable supreme that's even close to a demisage. The Horizon Wing Sect Master's expression was grim. The rest of them looked equally grim. Roar! The tormented general seemed to be enraged by the ambush. He let out a roar and the tormented army suddenly accelerated their advance. It would not be long before they would have to face the tormented army head-on. D***, if we don't break through the tormented army's formation, this battle will be difficult. I'm afraid we won't be able to hold on for long with our current strength. No matter what, we must fight this battle. The Horizon Wing Sect Master took a deep breath and looked determined. D***, I don't believe it. An elder rushed out with a spear in his hand that was glowing brightly. A powerful Daoist rhyme circulated within it. The spear shot out and a majestic burst of Daoist rhyme rushed into the tormented army. The spear was aimed directly at the tormented general. However, before it could get close, it was blocked by the other tormented army. It could not hurt the general at all. D***, Heavenly Sword Chi. Another elder slashed out with his sword. Wu took a deep breath and formed a mysterious hand seal. A golden Buddhist light imbued with the power of Vajra shot out. A sword and a Buddhist light shot towards the tormented general. However, just like before, it was completely ineffective. After the previous ambush, the number of tormented souls surrounding the tormented general had increased, making it even more difficult for them to break through. Damn it! Leng Changkong was indignant. He continued to channel his sword chi towards the tormented army. However, even an expert like the Horizon Wing Sect Master, Wu, could not do it, let alone a mere Paradise Realm cultivator. The sword chi was like a clay ox entering the sea. There was no response. The Horizon Wing Sect Master sighed and said, Changkong, conserve your spiritual energy and prepare for the upcoming battle. Leng Changkong nodded reluctantly. But suddenly he thought of something. He once again channeled his spirit energy into the sword in his hand. The Horizon Wing Sect Master could not help but frown when he saw this. Why didn't this child listen to my advice? Just as he was about to reprimand Leng Changkong, a terrifying sword-based Daoist rhyme suddenly erupted from Leng Changkong's sword. This sword-based Daoist rhyme was so powerful that it instantly engulfed the entire city wall. Everyone looked in the direction of Leng Changkong in shock. What a strong pressure! How could Daozi possibly have such strength? It's not the Daozi, it's the sword in his hand. What's going on? The sword in Leng Changkong's hand emitted a dazzling purple radiance. The dazzling sword ray circulated around the sword's edge as if it was about to burst out. Leng Changkong was stunned. Before returning to Sunsoil City, Chu Kuangren had left a surge of sword chi in his sword, telling him that he could use it if he encountered an opponent that he could not defeat. However, they did not encounter any danger on their way back to Sunsoil City, so the surge of sword chi was preserved until now. Just now, he was only trying his best to channel the sword chi. He did not have high hopes for it. After all, even experts like the Horizon Wing Sect Master and Wu could not do much here. What could Chu Kuangren's surge of sword chi do? However, he did not expect that. That surge of sword chi was so powerful. The endless power that came from the sword made his scalp numb. It was a terrifying power that he had never seen before. And now, that power was in his hands. At that moment, his heart was filled with pride. He could not help but raise the sword in his hand and aim it at the tormented army's general. He took a step forward and a majestic sword pressure swept out. With a loud roar, the sword in his hand slashed down. A dazzling purple sword ray swept out like an endless torrent and slashed into the group of tormented souls. Wherever the sword chi passed, the tormented souls were shattered into nothingness. As if sensing an unprecedented threat, the tormented general let out a piercing howl. A terrifying, ferocious chi erupted from his body and turned into a hideous skull that collided with the sword ray. As the two forces collided, the skull exploded. The sword ray landed on the tormented general's body without holding back. After a scream, the tormented general was completely destroyed by the sword ray. Without their general, the remaining tormented army fell into chaos. On top of Sunsoil City's walls, everyone stared at Ling Changkong, dumbfounded. They were still immersed in the shock of that terrifying sword attack. The general that everyone was helpless against was defeated just like that. A surge of sword chi from a paradise realm cultivator. At that moment, Ling Changkong was the center of attention. However, both Wu Yi and the Horizon Wing sect master knew that it was not Ling Changkong's doing. It was someone else who performed that attack. At that moment, the long sword in Ling Changkong's hand suddenly let out a cracking sound. Cracks appeared all over the sword before it finally shattered into countless pieces and fell to the ground. Ling Changkong sucked in a cold breath. One should know that his sword was a supreme weapon, but it could not withstand the power of that surge of sword chi. It shattered right after it was released. Chen, what's going on? The Horizon Wing sect master quickly asked. This surge of sword chi was given to me by a fellow cultivator from the Black Heaven sect. He saved me 2 days ago and asked me to bring him around the ancient battlefield. Before we parted ways, he imbued this surge of sword chi into my sword. Ling Changkong briefly explained the incident. Black Heaven sect? Who's that from the Black Heaven sect? His face was shrouded in a spiritual light, so it was difficult to see him clearly. However, he mentioned that his surname is Chu, Ling Changkong said. Surname Chu? Could it be? The Horizon Wing sect master's pupils shrunk as if he had thought of something. Someone from the Black Heaven sect with such power, surname Chu, all these characteristics made him think of a person. Is there a silver-haired lady beside him? Wu Yi asked. Yes, I think that lady's surname is Lan. Then I'm sure. Wu Yi and the Horizon Wing sect master looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. They then said the same name at the same time. Chu Kuangren. Everyone's expression changed when they heard that name. Ling Changkong was even more stunned. Brother Chu is the world-renowned Chu Kuangren. Ling Changkong recalled the details of his interactions with Chu Kuangren. While he was shocked, he felt that it was reasonable. However, that did not stop him from being shocked. That's Chu Kuangren we're talking about. If one were to ask who was the most famous person in the world today, without a doubt, it was Chu Kuangren. Who doesn't know who he is? Chapter 242. With the help of the spring breeze healing technique, everyone quickly recovered. Chu Kuangren stood in the air and was about to land when he suddenly sensed something and looked in the direction of the ancient battlefield. His gaze pierced through the sea of clouds and saw a white-robed figure standing on a sand dune in the ancient battlefield. That white-robed figure held a spear in his hand and wore a ferocious mask on his face. His pitch-black eyes were staring at Chu Kuangren. The white-robed general? Chu Kuangren frowned. Why did he see this person again? Then he saw the white-robed general put down his spear and bowed in his direction. It was as if he was thanking Chu Kuangren or bidding farewell to the million tormented souls. Chu Kuangren was stunned. What was he doing now? Just when he was about to chase after him and ask, the white-robed general lifted his spear and disappeared into the sandstorm. Is this guy related to the million tormented souls? Could he be from the Tranquil Kingdom? Chu Kuangren pondered. The million-strong tormented army was formed from the Tranquil Kingdom's army. Could the white-robed general be a general of the Tranquil Kingdom? Otherwise, why would the tormented souls express their gratitude to him when he released them from purgatory? The more Chu Kuangren thought about it, the more likely it seemed. However, there might be other secrets that he did not know about. Without thinking too much, he retracted his spiritual power and returned to the ground. The Horizon Wing sect master, Wu Yi, and Ling Changkong walked up to him. The Horizon Wing sect master greets the sect master. Wu Yi greets Brother Chu. The few of them bowed to him. Chu Kuangren smiled. There's no need to be so polite. He then looked at Leng Changkong, only to see the latter smiling bitterly at him. Brother Chu, you've kept me in the dark for a long time. Changkong, don't be rude. The Horizon Wing sect master scolded him. Leng Changkong regained his senses. Since his own sect master addressed Chu Kuangren as sect leader, it was against the rules for him to address Chu Kuangren as a fellow Daoist. He straightened his expression. Changkong greets sect leader. There's no need to be so polite, Brother Leng, Chu Kuangren said. Then, the few of them began to clean up the battlefield. The Horizon Wing sect master could not conceal the sorrow in his eyes as he looked at the cultivators of the Horizon Wing sect who had died in battle. They were all great men of my Horizon Wing sect. Let this little monk help them ascend from the heavens. Wu Yi sighed and sat on the spot. A faint Buddhist light emanated from his body as he chanted a scripture. A sacred and peaceful aura spread out. After cleaning up the battlefield, Wu Yi went to look for Chu Kuangren with an intense interest in his eyes. Fellow Daoist Chu, are you a Buddhist cultivator? Master, you must be joking. I'm the Black Heaven sect leader. How could I be a Buddhist cultivator? Chu Kuangren shook his head and laughed. This is impossible. Wu Yi shook his head firmly. If he was not a Buddhist cultivator, how could he have such a Buddhist light? That kind of Buddhist light is something that I, and even the abbot of my Thunder Temple, cannot compare to. That's just a cultivation technique. It can't prove anything. Without the support of the Buddhist Dharma, any Buddhist technique will not be able to display much power. Fellow Chu's body is filled with Buddhist light, indicating that he has a deep understanding of that technique. Similarly, fellow Chu's attainments in the Buddhist Dharma should also be at the peak, Wu Yi said with certainty. From this, it was clear that Chu Kuangren was a Buddhist cultivator. Chu Kuangren was a little speechless. He had obtained the Tathagata rebirth scripture from the Gacha roll, so he did not need to learn any Buddhist Dharma at all. However, he did not bother to explain too much. Seeing that Chu Kuangren was silent, Wu Yi was even more certain that Chu Kuangren was a Buddhist cultivator with a deep understanding of Buddhism. With respect in his eyes, he said, Brother Chu, I've come to the ancient battlefield because this place has the heaviest amount of resentment. I wish to purge these tormented souls and take the opportunity to learn Buddhist Dharma. I've been stuck at this bottleneck for many years, so I hope Brother Chu can guide me. Chu Kuangren was dumbfounded. Guide him? His understanding of Buddhism was limited to some famous sayings and movies that he had seen in his previous life. You're too kind, Master. My understanding of Buddhist Dharma is very shallow, so I'm afraid I'm asking the wrong person. There's no need to be humble, Brother Chu. Please enlighten me. Wu Yi was still looking at Chu Kuangren expectantly. He was too eager to break through. He was a dignified Buddhist disciple, the leader of the younger generation of Buddhism, and was known as the most intelligent person in the Thunder Temple in the past 1,000 years. However, the world did not know that his Buddhist Dharma attainment had long been stuck at a bottleneck, and he could not improve at all. This troubled him greatly. For so many years, in order to break through the bottleneck of Buddhist Dharma, he had gone through all the Buddhist scriptures in the Thunder Temple and memorized them by heart. However, the results were minimal and he still could not break through. Just now, when he saw Chu Kuangren's magnificent Buddhist light and the towering golden ancient Buddha, he seemed to have seen hope. Perhaps this person could help him. Chu Kuangren looked at Wu Ye's stubborn look and felt a headache coming on. Forget it. I'll just say a few words. He said, see through, let go, be free. Those 6 short words set off a storm in Wu Ye's mind. See through, let go, be free. It was just 6 words, but they contained all the essence of Buddhism within them. Even a Buddhist disciple like Wu Yi found it difficult to understand the mystery within, but somehow he seemed to have grasped something. See through, be free. Wu Yi kept murmuring as his gaze kept changing. What to see through, what to let go, how to be free. As Wu Yi continued to comprehend, his face gradually became a little crazed. Even the spiritual power on his body began to fluctuate violently. Not good, he's going to go berserk. Beside him, the Horizon Wing Sect Master suddenly exclaimed. He felt his scalp go numb. Those 6 short words had caused a Buddhist disciple to think so hard and even show signs of going berserk. That was too terrifying. Why don't I feel anything? Leng Changkong was puzzled. He had also heard those 6 short words from Chu Kuangren, but nothing happened to him. You're different from the Buddhist disciple. Those 6 short words contain countless essences of Buddhism. You don't know Buddhist Dharma, so naturally, you won't understand the mystery within. However, the Buddhist disciple has been reading Buddhist scriptures since he was young, and his Buddhist Dharma cultivation is extremely high. That's why he's like this. The Horizon Wing Sect Master said in a serious tone. Leng Changkong was confused. In other words, he knew very little, which was why he was fine. The Horizon Wing Sect Master looked at Chu Kuangren solemnly and said with a trembling voice, I didn't expect sect leader to have such profound attainments in Buddhist Dharma. Those 6 short words contain the essence of Buddhism, causing a Buddhist disciple to be unable to comprehend them. Is it really that exaggerated? You don't have enough comprehension, so of course you don't understand. The corner of Leng Changkong's mouth twitched. Alright, this was the first time someone called him stupid, and he could not refute it. Sect leader, I'm afraid the Buddhist disciple will go berserk if this goes on. What should we do now? The Horizon Wing Sect Master asked anxiously. He looked at Chu Kuangren, who was calm as if nothing had happened, and his heart was filled with endless admiration. The sect leader was indeed the sect leader, to be able to remain calm under such circumstances. It seems that I still have a lot to learn. The Horizon Wing Sect Master sighed. Chapter 243. F***ck me. What's wrong with this monk disciple? Going berserk? What have I done to make this monk disciple go berserk? Chu Kuangren looked calm on the surface, but deep down he was muttering to himself. His mind was filled with question marks. Did I not just say 6 words? How could a monk disciple go berserk? If I knew this would happen, I would not have fooled him. If something happened to this monk disciple, would the Thunder Temple come after me? Chu Kuangren kept thinking of ways to salvage the situation. Although he was not afraid of the Thunder Temple, Wu Yi was the one who caused this, so he could not just watch him die. Chu Kuangren looked at Wu Yi and gritted his teeth. Keep on fooling him. One's life is created by oneself, and appearances are born from the heart. Everything in the world is an illusion. If the heart does not move, nothing will move. If the heart does not change, nothing will change. A foolish thought leads to the end of wisdom, and a wise thought leads to the birth of wisdom. All appearances are fabricated. If you see the appearance but not the appearance, you will see the Buddha. Chu Kuangren did not care if it was appropriate or not. He recited all the Buddhist scriptures that he had read in his past life. The Horizon Wing Sect Master was so shocked that his jaw dropped. To him, every word that Chu Kuangren said contained an incomparably exquisite Buddhist truth. What kind of realm of Buddhist understanding is he to be able to say such things? Could the sect leader really be the reincarnation of a living Buddha? Beside him, Leng Changkong looked at Wu Yi with pity. It's over, it's over. The sect leader only said 6 words earlier, and Master Wu Yi was already on the verge of going berserk. Now, he said a whole bunch of them. Will Master Wu Yi self-destruct on the spot? The more Leng Changkong thought about it, the more likely it seemed. He quietly gestured to the disciples behind him, asking them to back off. As Chu Kuangren chanted a series of exquisite Buddhist mantras, Wu Ye's ferocious expression gradually became peaceful. His restless spiritual power also calmed down, and a thick Buddhist light suddenly bloomed from his body, shooting straight into the sky. He was enlightened. Under Chu Kuangren's guidance, the doubts that had troubled him for many years were solved one by one. His Buddhist Dharma realm had also risen to another level. Wu Yi, on the other hand, had only understood a little of what Chu Kuangren said. That made him admire Chu Kuangren to the extreme. Master, please accept my bow. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Wu Yi knelt before Chu Kuangren and kowtowed to him. When the surrounding cultivators saw this, they were extremely shocked. This was the monk disciple of the Thunder Temple, a young emperor of the younger generation. Yet now, he was kneeling before Chu Kuangren willingly. It was unbelievable. "You may rise." Chu Kuangren stood where he was and accepted Wu Ye's bow. At the same time, he breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, he managed to bluff his way through. Wu Yi stood up and said, "A teacher is a teacher. Teacher's Dharma cultivation is so high that it's unimaginable. With a few pointers, even if I've only comprehended a little bit of it, I've already been enlightened. This guidance has benefited me for the rest of my life. This kindness is greater than the heavens. From today onwards, teacher will be my teacher." "Master Wu Yi, you're welcome." Chu Kuangren chuckled. Wu Yi wanted to acknowledge Chu Kuangren as his honorable teacher, but it was not because he wanted Chu Kuangren to be his honorable teacher. As long as it didn't affect him, he didn't mind. After dealing with the tormented army and cleaning up the battlefield, Chu Kuangren wondered if he should enter the ancient battlefield's core area again. After some thought, he decided to go and have a look. However, since the ancient battlefield's core area was extremely dangerous, he decided to let Lan Yu stay in Sun's Oil City for the time being while he went alone to explore. Ancient battlefield. In the inner zone, Chu Kuangren passed by the Lu Kingdom's ancient city. After the tormented army broke through the seal, the enchanted boundary had disappeared, exposing the huge ancient city to the sunlight. Chu Kuangren sighed as he looked at the dilapidated walls. The Lu Kingdom used to be a powerful sage orthodoxy, and its heritage was even stronger than sage orthodoxies like the Royal Azure Dynasty. However, even the powerful Lu Kingdom could not escape its fate of destruction. It was evident that there were few things in this world that could last forever. At that thought, Chu Kuangren's desire for power grew even stronger. Only by becoming stronger could he ensure the Black Heaven sect's longevity. Becoming an emperor. No, he wanted to surpass the great emperor. Chu Kuangren's eyes were filled with determination. Looking at the ancient city in front of him, he suddenly thought of something. That boundary emperor weapon was taken by Shang Han, right? Interesting. I wonder if he would dare to come after me now that he has a boundary emperor weapon? At that thought, he was suddenly looking forward to it. He was almost invincible among the younger generation, so he would be quite happy if there were a few capable cultivators among them. He would treat it as a way to relieve his boredom. At that moment, sounds of fighting suddenly came from the Lu Kingdom's royal palace. Chu Kuangren's figure moved and turned into a stream of light. In the next instant, he had arrived at the Lu Kingdom's royal palace. There was a group of cultivators who were currently fighting over something. Hand over the sage's bone. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving this place alive, a burly man shouted at a young man. The surrounding cultivators were also glaring at the young man. That young man was also stubborn and said coldly, "You want the sage's bone? Dream on." Everyone rushed forward and attacked the young man. The cultivation level of this group of people was not weak. The weakest among them was at least a battle monarch, and that young man's combat strength was at the level of a late-stage honorable. However, there were at least 3 people whose combat strength was similar to his. Being outnumbered, that young man soon fell into a disadvantageous position. When Chu Kuangren arrived, that young man was already covered in wounds. Upon hearing their conversation, Chu Kuangren fell into deep thought. Sage's bone. If I'm not mistaken, this should be the remains of the Lu Kingdom's ruler. I can't believe this remains are still here. Lu Cheng's exposure naturally attracted many adventurers. In the ancient city, Chu Kuangren had taken all the treasures and the boundary emperor weapon. Naturally, the most valuable thing was the sage's bone. These people were fighting over it. Seeing that the young man was covered in wounds, Chu Kuangren had no intention of attacking. After all, he did not know that young man. It was common for cultivators to kill each other and steal their treasures. Not long after, the young man's arm was cut off by a cultivator. That arm flew out along with his yin and yang ring. That yin and yang ring contained the sage's bone. Seeing that, the crowd immediately rushed forward. This sage's bone is mine. Scram! However, a sudden suction force suddenly landed on the broken arm. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and grabbed it before taking off the yin and yang ring. With a jolt of his spiritual thought, the Lu Kingdom's ruler's remains were indeed inside. The surface of the remains glowed with golden light and Daoist rhymes. It was much stronger than an ordinary sage's remains. Chu Kuangren concluded that the Lu Kingdom's ruler's cultivation level was probably close to a great sage when he was alive. Such a strong cultivator was very rare. Even the sage orthodoxies in the firmament star did not necessarily have a great sage behind them. This sage's remains must be worth a lot. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. When the other cultivators saw that Chu Kuangren had taken the yin and yang ring, their expressions immediately darkened. Some of them even took out their weapons and charged at him, wanting to kill him and steal his treasures. Chapter 244. Hand over the sage's bones. Be *starred. How dare you steal something right under our noses? Dozens of cultivators charged towards Chu Kuangren with their weapons. However, Chu Kuangren stood still. The descendant self-sword at his waist gently vibrated, and an extremely cold sword-based Daoist rhyme erupted, turning into sword chi along with spiritual power. The sword chi spread like a hurricane, and all the cultivators who charged towards Chu Kuangren were torn apart by the sword chi before they could even get within 3 meters of Chu Kuangren. When the others saw this, they sucked in a cold breath. What a powerful strength! Who is this person? Wait a minute. A beautiful ancient sword at his waist, coupled with his extraordinary temperament, could he be Chu Kuangren? When the name Chu Kuangren came out, everyone at the scene did not dare to act rashly. They all retreated to the side. Meanwhile, the previous owner of the yin and yang ring, the young cultivator who had his arm cut off in the battle, walked towards Chu Kuangren. Brother Chu, thank you for your help. In the future, I will definitely pay you a visit to thank you. Thank you. As he spoke, he reached out his hand. Chu Kuangren frowned. What are you doing? Brother Chu, shouldn't you return my yin and yang ring to me? The young man said in disbelief. This yin and yang ring is my trophy, why should I return it to you? After all, if Chu Kuangren had not taken the yin and yang ring, this young man would have died for sure. Now, this young man wanted to take the sage's remains from Chu Kuangren, which made him feel a little ridiculous. The sage's remains belonged to those who were capable. If this young man was strong enough, it would not be a problem for him to take the remains. However, he was ambitious but weak. The young man's expression changed and he said angrily, is the Black Heaven sect leader going to steal other people's belongings like this? You're being unreasonable. Chu Kuangren shook his head and casually struck out with his palm. An extremely violent Daoist rhyme turned into an ancient godly mountain, and with a boom, the young man was blasted into a cloud of blood mist. Everyone was shocked. They did not expect Chu Kuangren to be so decisive. Is there anyone else who wants this sage's remains? Chu Kuangren calmly swept his gaze across the crowd. The strongest cultivator among them was only an honorable. In front of Chu Kuangren, who could slay a sage, they were just like ants. How would they dare to compete with him? Since the saint skeleton has fallen into Brother Chu's hands, we naturally don't dare to fight with you. Goodbye. Being able to witness fellow Daoist Chu's elegant demeanor today is also a fortunate thing. This trip was not in vain. Sect leader Chu is indeed as the rumors say. You have the talent of a celestial being. I'm convinced. This sage's remains should be yours. I just remembered that I have something to do at home. Goodbye. What? Wife, you're about to give birth? I'll go back now. Some of them complimented Chu Kuangren, while some of them took out their communication compass and pretended to be having a conversation. After that, they left the scene one after another. These people would not dare to fight with Chu Kuangren even if they were given 10 guts. Chu Kuangren used his spiritual thought to scan the entire Lu Kingdom palace. After finding nothing, he left the ancient city and headed towards the ancient battlefield's core area. Ancient battlefield, core area. This was a place that even the sages were extremely afraid of. The density of ferocious qi here was more than 10 times that of the ancient battlefield's inner zone. High-level tormented souls could be seen almost everywhere. Chu Kuangren felt a little uncomfortable when he stepped into it. He had to channel his spiritual power to counteract the discomfort. He activated his treasure locating skill. Chu Kuangren then began to search for some treasures nearby. There's a sage weapon 300 kilometers ahead. His eyes lit up as his figure turned into a stream of light and arrived at the location of the sage weapon. The sage weapon was buried in a sand dune. Chu Kuangren lifted his arm and unleashed a surge of spiritual qi. The sand dune exploded. A crimson longsword was blasted out. Although this holy sword was covered in rust, it was still suffused with strands of sharp sword qi, causing others to feel fear at the sight of it. Chu Kuangren held the sacred sword and channeled his spiritual power into it. Instantly, the rust on the sacred sword peeled off, revealing a bright red blade. 2 small words were engraved on the blade's edge. Blood execution. Sacred sword blood execution. Chu Kuangren smiled in satisfaction as he tossed the sacred sword into the sacred emerald sword case to be nurtured. Then, he continued to search the core area. Although this place was much more dangerous than the inner zone and the outer zone, there were many opportunities of fortune as well. In just half a day, Chu Kuangren had already obtained 2 sage weapons and 7 to 8 supreme weapons. This ancient battlefield is a natural treasure trove. Chu Kuangren exclaimed. Suddenly, a strange fluctuation came from his yin and yang ring. Puzzled, he took out a wooden box and opened it. What he saw was the source of ferocious qi rumbling inside. What's going on? Just as Chu Kuangren was puzzled, he suddenly felt an extremely violent murderous intent coming from behind him. His expression changed slightly as he unsheathed the long sword at his waist. A sword ray slashed towards his back. The sword ray collided with a saber ray that was condensed from ferocious qi. It exploded in the void and set off a terrifying shockwave. Even Chu Kuangren could not help but take a few steps back. This energy belongs to a sage. He sensed that the ferocious qi contained a surge of sage Daoist rhyme. Not far away, a tormented soul with a black longsword in its hand and a body shrouded in black ferocious qi was staring at him. Kill, kill, give me the innate ferocious qi. As the tormented soul murmured, the ferocious qi on its body became denser and denser. Then, it charged towards Chu Kuangren. With a swing of its long sword, the pitch-black sword ray almost covered all the light in the world. A ferocious and domineering Daoist rhyme locked onto Chu Kuangren. Facing a tormented soul with the combat strength of a sage, Chu Kuangren did not dare to be careless. He swung his descendant self-sword and a majestic purple sword ray shot out. The collision of the 2 energies caused the void to rumble again. 4 seasons sword formation. Chu Kuangren took out the sacred emerald sword case. One by one, the long swords flew out and quickly formed into an incredibly mysterious 4-season sword formation. Within the sword formation, the 4 seasons alternated and the power of nature manifestation erupted. Compared to a year ago, Chu Kuangren's current cultivation level had reached the late-stage honorable realm. He was only a step away from becoming an honorable. The sword formation that he had cast was so powerful that it killed the sage-level tormented soul in just a dozen breaths' time. Accompanied by a piercing howl, the sage-level tormented soul turned into smoke and dissipated, leaving behind only a black mist. Another source of ferocious qi. Chu Kuangren frowned as he grabbed the source of ferocious qi in his hand. Compared to the source of ferocious qi that he obtained from purging the million-strong tormented army, this source of ferocious qi was much smaller. As if he had a stroke of luck, he placed this source of ferocious qi into the wooden box and merged it with another source of ferocious qi. In an instant, that source of ferocious qi flew into Chu Kuangren's body. Then, a message exploded in his mind. Infallible tormented physique. It's the infallible tormented physique, one of the top 10 physiques among the 3,000 physiques. Chu Kuangren was surprised. It turned out that this source of ferocious qi had another name. The innate ferocious qi. This innate ferocious qi had many magical uses, and the most powerful one was that it could allow one to cultivate the infallible tormented physique. Moreover, it was the kind of infallible tormented physique that could be directly mastered. Once such a physique was mastered, even a sage could be killed easily. Chapter 245. However, I've only integrated 2 surges of innate ferocious qi, which is only the initial stage of the infallible tormented physique. My progress is about 3%, so I still have a long way to go before I can achieve full mastery, Chu Kuangren murmured. However, he was not in a hurry. Based on the information contained in the innate ferocious qi, the ancient battlefield's core area had nurtured many surges of innate ferocious qi over the years. As long as he slowly collected them, he could eventually achieve full mastery of the infallible tormented physique. Of course, other than him, the tormented souls in the core area were also interested in the innate ferocious qi. They were tormented souls, so the innate ferocious qi was extremely useful to them. It could even help them develop spiritual intelligence. Chu Kuangren could not help but think of the white-robed general. Could he be a tormented soul that had developed spiritual intelligence? He shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Then, he continued to search the ancient battlefield's core area, using his treasure-locating skill to collect innate ferocious qi. The treasure-locating skill could not find some of the innate ferocious qi that had already been integrated, but there were still ownerless innate ferocious qi in the ancient battlefield. Chu Kuangren spent the next 3 days in the ancient battlefield's core area, and he managed to collect a few surges of innate ferocious qi. However, none of them were as concentrated as the one he obtained when he purified the million-strong tormented army. Nevertheless, he managed to push his infallible tormented physique to 5%, increasing his combat strength. Another surge of innate ferocious qi. Using his treasure-locating skill, Chu Kuangren found a surge of innate ferocious qi 3,000 kilometers away from him, so he immediately rushed over. However, before he could get close, he sensed a terrifying energy fluctuation. Someone was fighting at the location of the innate ferocious qi. He slowed down, hid his aura, and cautiously approached. This was the ancient battlefield's core area, where danger lurked everywhere. The energy fluctuation he sensed was definitely at the level of a sage. He did not dare to be too conspicuous in this place. When he got closer to the center of the energy fluctuation, he noticed 2 figures fighting. Terrifying ferocious qi that contained sage Daoist rhymes were violently clashing against each other, causing the void to tremble. When he looked closer, he realized that one of the 2 figures was an old man in a black robe, and the other was a huge ape with red eyes and black fur all over its body. You're just a mindless, tormented soul. Even if you have the combat strength of a sage, how can you fight me? The black-robed old man harumphed coldly and punched out. A terrifying Daoist rhyme erupted from his skinny body, mixing with the baleful aura to form a gigantic fist that smashed the ape into the ground. Chu Kuangren's heart skipped a beat as he witnessed this scene from the shadows. This black-robed old man was also a tormented soul. However, he possessed intelligence. How many strands of innate ferocious qi had he fused with? If he could absorb the innate ferocious qi in his body, then his infallible tormented body would definitely make great progress. Thinking of this, he secretly compared the strength of both sides. Sages were divided into ordinary sages, great sages, and king sages. Even within the same realm, there were still differences in strength. Therefore, the sages roughly divided each realm into 7 steps. First step sage, second step sage. First step great sage, second step great sage. The first step was the most ordinary, while the 7th step was the most powerful. Based on Chu Kuangren's senses, this black-robed old man's combat strength was roughly equivalent to a 3-step sage, which was slightly stronger than the Murong clan sage. However, he was able to kill the saint of the Murong clan a year ago. What more a year later? I can win! Chu Kuangren thought to himself. After the black-robed old man killed the ape-tormented soul and obtained the innate ferocious qi, Chu Kuangren made his move. He took out the sacred emerald sword case and 365 swords flew out. What? The black-robed old man was shocked. He did not expect to be ambushed so suddenly. Faced with the four-season sword formation that was filled with majestic sword chi and Daoist rhymes, the black-robed old man hurriedly unleashed a punch with his ferocious chi. The black fist landed on the sword formation and shattered the sword chi. However, the swords scattered in all directions and surrounded the black-robed old man. D****. The energy of this sword formation is very strong. The black-robed old man instantly determined that he was no match for this sword formation, so he immediately released a wisp of black ferocious chi from his fingertip. Before the sword formation was fully formed, he slipped out of the gap and flew far away. He then looked at the sword formation's owner. When he saw the owner's face, not only was he shocked by his appearance, but he was also shocked by his identity. This energy, is it a living person? A living person has entered the ancient battlefield's core area, and his cultivation level is only at the honorable realm. The black-robed old man found it hard to believe. An honorable could activate a sword formation of this level and enter the ancient battlefield's core area. Young lad, this must be your first time in the core area. Do you know that there are 3 beings in the core area that you must not provoke? My master is one of them, so you better kill. Before the black-robed old man could finish his sentence, Chu Kuangren had already activated the 4-season sword formation and unleashed its most terrifying sword-based Daoist rhyme. Chu Kuangren could tell that the black-robed old man was trying to buy time, although he did not know when he had called for backup. However, given the current situation, he needed to end this battle quickly. The 4-season sword formation unleashed its full power, and the terrifying and mysterious sword chi suppressed the black-robed old man within a few breaths. D****. Young lad, if you dare to kill me, I will definitely. The black-robed old man's eyes were filled with fear. The power of this sword formation was more terrifying than he had imagined. Before he could finish his sentence, the 4 seasons within the sword formation began to rotate, and the sun and moon alternated. The power of nature then transformed into a multicolored greatsword that smashed down. With a boom, the terrifying sword chi swept out, and the black-robed old man was instantly smashed into pieces by the greatsword. When the sword chi dissipated, Chu Kuangren rushed into the sword formation and collected the remaining innate ferocious chi in the air. The concentration of the innate ferocious chi was more than what he had collected in the past few days. He estimated that it could at least boost his infallible tormented physique to about 10%. He kept the innate ferocious chi and was about to leave. But at this moment, an incomparably terrifying aura immediately locked onto him, and a black finger stretched across the sky. The surging ferocious chi swept through the clouds and shook the heavens and earth. Even Chu Kuangren could not help but be shocked by this attack. The Descendant Self-Sword was unsheathed from his waist, and the 6 supreme foundation levels within his body radiated with a dazzling divine light. The golden jade body activated, the exquisite 9 orifices sword heart, and the ferocious chi from the infallible tormented physique were activated. The purple sword ray was boundless, and it contained a surge of Emperor's aura. The sword collided with the giant finger that was coming at him. The 2 energies entangled and collided, forming a terrifying shockwave that even Chu Kuangren could not help but be pushed back hundreds of feet. His expression was extremely solemn. The owner of that giant finger was definitely the strongest enemy he had ever encountered. He took out a jade talisman and was ready to crush it. That was one of the prizes he had obtained in the past year. It was called the Great Shift Talisman, which contained spatial energy and could instantly teleport him hundreds of thousands of miles away. That was also one of the reasons why he dared to enter the core area. Even if he encountered any danger that he could not resist, he could still leave at any time. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.